Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. We should probably change that at some point because we definitely don't do it the following week at this point. We'll talk about that in a sec. But anyway, my name is Colton Brown, and joining me, the man laughing, the disembodied laugh that you're hearing, is Mr. Andrew Meadows. How you doing?
Hello, sir. How are you?
I've been busy. So I've been better, but things are okay. Man, just busy. You know, it's probably what your daily life is like. You know, you keep yourself plenty busy, working 6 days a week. I can't say that I've been working 6 days a week, but I think it's probably roughly equivalent in terms of just constantly having shit to do. You know,
I told somebody the same. Just because your struggle is any different, it doesn't diminish the value of your struggle. That's what I say. The struggle's the same. Work or whatever, it's all the same, right? So,
yeah,
it's equally tiring.
yeah. I didn't get a whole lot of sleep last night, so maybe that's weighing extra heavily as well. But you know what? Fuck it, man. We're here. We're finally here. It's been a few weeks since we recorded. Probably a little bit of time since the last episode came out on Castlevania. Took a long time for me to find the space and the time to actually sit down and edit that Castlevania episode, but god damn it, I got it out when I could get it out. So sorry for the wait, folks. And we're doing things a little unorthodox this week as well, because we promised some coverage of A Quiet Place Part 2. And only one of us has seen it right now, which is to say that we kind of had to go with the flex option, and so we're talking In the Heights on this episode, which we were always going to cover anyway. So really, what we're just doing is switching up the order. So everyone's just gonna have to wait. I'm gonna have to wait even longer to hear Andrew's thoughts on A Quiet Place. So you know, everyone's in the same boat here. Yeah, we're just switching things up. We'll circle back around to A Quiet Place and
very shortly.
Hopefully shortly. Yeah. But In the Heights, man, you know, like I said, it's one we were going to cover, so it's not a big deal that we're doing it a little bit sooner. It's a little fresher in everyone's minds than waiting a week to talk about it at this point. So I'm excited to get into that with you. Unfortunately, you have not been able to make that long-awaited, I don't know if promise is the right word, but theater trek didn't happen for you, but that's okay. You're going to find some time somewhat soon, it sounds like. So we won't leave the listeners hanging too long on that front. So yeah, I like I said, I've been busy. A lot of stuff that I probably talked about on that Castlevania episode. You know, it's funny. I actually mentioned, I think in the body of the episode, like, oh, we're recording this. I think it was June 1st that we're recording it. And so that was a fully 3 whole ass weeks ago that episode was recorded. So I will try to keep this one a little bit more timely. So, you know, we're playing catch up, but we've got lots of things to catch up on, and I'm looking forward. You know, it's nice. You know, sometimes we do it so often that, like, you know, in the moment we're like, oh man, like I just want to do anything else. But like when you're far, you know, when you wait long enough, I guess, between recording, it kind of makes you really anticipate getting back into it and being able to talk about the many things that you've been up to. In Andrew's case, you forget the things you've been up to over the past 3 weeks. So inevitably, when we talk about what we've been up to, he'll struggle to remember. But
I think I struggle even when we do it to the week to week. I always struggle.
That's I guess that's not really any different. It's just more things to forget, I guess. But anyway, yeah, that's enough rambling for me. We're talking In the Heights, and I think it's going to be a good one. So that's what I got for now. Well, let's talk about what we've been up to in the section where we talk about what we've been up to. We'll save that for later. Let's talk about a fun fact right now. Is that okay with you?
Yeah,
ready
fun
to do
fact.
Some fun fact talk.
Yeah. So Alexander Hamilton himself, not himself, Lin-Manuel Miranda.
That's the man.
That's the man right there. My fun fact for In the Heights, on the In the Heights episode, is that this was essentially he had put on the stage play or in theater in the Heights. And it essentially, this was the beginning of his career. So it's kind of gone full circle. And I think in 2008, it won like 13 Tonys. And he actually, but I'm looking at the Wikipedia page, and he's credited for it in 1999. And he actually played the lead role of
Usnavi?
Usnavi, yes. And yeah, so according to the Wikipedia page, this play came out in 99, eventually making its way to Broadway and eventually getting Tony nominated and Tony wins and stuff like that. And he composed and wrote the music to it. So it's kind of gone full circle for his career, which is pretty cool because now it's a movie.
Now it's a movie. Gracing the big screen and all that jazz, and I guess the little screen if you watch it on HBO Max and such. But yeah. I was gonna bring a fun fact to the table, and honestly, it's actually very close to kind of what you've already hit on. So I might just jump in if that's all right.
Yeah.
Lin-Manuel Miranda did originate the role of Usnavi in the Broadway incarnation of In the Heights, the stage musical. This obviously is an adaptation that was made, a decade and a half later. Lin-Manuel Miranda is 40 years old at this point, so it's not really appropriate for him to continue to play that role, Dear Evan Hansen style.
Right.
And so he did step away, and Anthony Ramos took over the role for the film. And so that's kind of what I'm getting at is, he took a step back, but he's still in the film. He takes on a different character, which is kind of fun. So it's a nice kind of nod to his role in the original. And obviously he's still very heavily involved in terms of the writing of it, the music of it. That can all kind of really be traced back to the play. But I thought it was fun, that it makes sense that for this character that he's now aged out of, they pull him out of this role, give him kind of a different fun role to kind of have like a cameo role of sorts in this film version. And to add to that, he's not the only original cast member that kind of does that. So Christopher Jackson, who you may recognize as playing George Washington from Hamilton,
yes,
was also in this film. Playing a rival of sorts to the character that Lin-Manuel Miranda plays, and he originated the role of Benny, and the
really,
and then the stage play. So
that's totally awesome.
So it's really fun. They kind of took these two characters who are the two main male characters of that, and they kind of gave them this little friendly rivalry in the course of the film with these kind of two side characters who get obviously get a few moments to shine, obviously, but they don't take the spotlight away from really kind of the central four characters.
And
so yeah, that's and go for
it.
Yep.
To sprinkle this in here, there's some hold music in this movie that pays homage.
Yes, indeed.
And I think the funnest fact of all is that Sarah pointed it out.
Oh, nice. She caught it.
She caught it. She goes, "That's that damn song you listen to all the time."
You'll be back.
She caught it. No, it was totally awesome.
That was a great reference. Anna picked it up before I did because you kind of hear it and you're like, what's that?
Yeah,
sounds familiar. And she's like, huh, and I was like, oh yeah, it's something. Oh, it is that. It took me a second to put it together, but that was very good. So yeah, there's a few cheeky, fun Hamilton references in here, but it is paying some respect to the original In the Heights as well.
And I had an additional fun fact. It's not quite fun. That's why I you don't know this, but I actually found the stuff that I said on the fly, and I figured that the other thing that I'd like to talk about is probably better suited for.
Do you want to talk about it while we talk about the film?
Yeah,
itself?
exactly. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Because it's not fun. Because it's not particular.
It's not particular. Well, it's fun to talk about. I like to talk about it. But
all right, you can talk about whatever you want, man. So it's all good fun. So okay, all right. Well, yeah. Then put a bookmark there, and we'll get back to that.
Got it.
When we talk about it. To close out the fun fact section, to keep everything fun, the only thing that I will add in terms of the original cast sticking around is that the character of Abuela is actually portrayed by the same actor who played her in the stage musical. So as far as I can tell, she's the only originating Broadway cast member to reprise the role in the film adaptation. And obviously a lot of that is like she was playing an old woman at that point. It's okay for her to play an old woman 15 years later. Whereas, if you're 25 years old, you can't exactly play a 25-year-old when you're 40 years old. Again, unless you're just making a Dear Evan Hansen adaptation, in which case you just do whatever.
Shame on you. Shame on you, Evan Hansen. Shame. Have some fucking grace.
But it grew his hair out, so he's totally young again. How do you do, fellow kids?
That's stupid. You and your CG bullshit. Anyways.
Goddamn animated animated movies. All right, so that's what I got on the fun fact front. Fun fact front. Maybe we should just rename it to the fun fact front.
That's cool. That little FFF.
Yeah, get some good alliteration. Yeah, I was going to say FFF was like, does that mean anything like really bad? Should we not use that abbreviation? I think it checks out. I think we're okay. I think we can stick with it. So yeah, let's talk some news. You ready to talk some news?
Let's do it.
All right. So we got 4 pieces of news, and then we got 4 trailers on the back end to talk about. First one's a pretty big deal, you might say. Pretty big deal. Mega deal. That's what I'm saying.
Pun intended.
Really emphasizing what it is, because it's exactly what it is. Amazon, old Jeff Bezos, busted out the pocketbook and said, I need to acquire MGM Studios. Well, we'll just go ahead and write this out. We'll just write this out for $8.45 billion. Not a big deal. We'll still have about $300,000 billion on the back end, so we'll be fine. Yep, Amazon has officially announced plans to purchase / merge with Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, the 97-year-old studio home to the 007 James Bond franchise, as well as Rocky, and probably a few other films, if I had to guess.
4,000 movies and 17,000 TV shows.
Yep, that's a lot. You might say. So, yeah, Amazon is shelling out a lot of money. They're not content to just make their Lord of the Rings show for $800,000 billion. They've also got to own or co-own, I guess, really, James Bond. I guess we'll get into that in a sec. But yeah, almost $9 billion going towards this purchase of MGM. My understanding is this is currently going through FTC review, Federal Trade Commission review, for antitrust concerns. The Fox Disney thing went through. I guess Amazon's probably a bigger corporation than Disney, to be fair, which is kind of like a holy shit. Like, I mean, they're all fucking billionaires. What does it matter, really?
What happens when Disney owns a third of the IPs, Netflix owns a third of the IPs, and fucking Amazon owns a third of the IPs? I was talking to a farmer today about, I watched this, I can't think of his name. He's got the long hair. He was in that movie with Adam Sandler, Branson. He's a comedian. You don't know? I can't remember his name. Anyways, talking about farmers and shit, and how big tech companies are taking over. Like Bill Gates is the largest farmland owner in America, right? And he's talking about these big corporations and the tech companies owning all the food that we consume. It's like, holy shit. And the same things happen with our media. You're going to have like 3 companies that own all the fucking media, all the stuff we consume. What's that look like? Looks like Blade Runner is what it looks like.
Yeah, probably. Yeah, it's a big Atari logo in the sky, but it's just Netflix, and then Amazon in a different corner, and then Disney in another. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe that's the point where big government steps in and busts busts things up, and they're like, okay, all right, we gotta divide these mega corporations.
They're not gonna
into
fucking
smaller
do
corporations,
that.
But yeah, I mean, probably not. I don't think we're quite on that path, but it sure does feel like it at times. It probably won't be 3; it'll probably be like 5 or 6. Which, like, I guess again, what's the real difference there? Probably not much.
It's either Google
because
or
Apple's going to be there, Google's going to be there. And honestly, that might be it. It might be just the five. I mean, Netflix honestly bleeds money, so I could see Netflix getting swallowed whole by another
Amazon.
God, yeah, that'd be one way to fix their streaming service is actually just get Netflix to do it. Yeah, that would nail it.
Jeff Bezos says, "I'll just buy you. Let me buy you, Netflix."
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. Yeah, what does that look like? I don't know. It's kind of hard to fathom. Honestly, just looking at these numbers is just kind of hard to fathom. Like, what is $8.45 billion to anyone? You know what I mean? Like, it's just a ridiculous sum of money to even talk about. I don't know what to say about it other than okay. I don't know. I guess it's not anything that excites me. Obviously, compared, the Disney Fox thing, obviously there were some certainly valid antitrust concerns there and like, oh, Disney's going to ruin everything, blah, 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 but at least with that, I did at least have this kind of notion of, okay, well, at least I can get my Marvel movies that I want. And I'm happy about that. And like, maybe that's a silly thing that doesn't really matter in the scheme of things, but here is kind of just like, I don't really have any like even like little thing that I can grasp at. Is like, I can just punt on the corporation talk and say this bad because big corporations buying other big corporations and consolidating them and merging them, like probably bad on the whole.
But there's a quote from the guy on Variety on the link that you provided in the news.
Sure.
He says the real financial value behind this deal is the treasure trove of intellectual property and the deep catalog that we plan to reimagine and develop together with MGM's talented team. So it's like, we're going to buy your company for $8.5 billion.
Right.
And they're going to remake Pink Panther. We're going to remake Rocky. We're going to do the 007 movies. We're just going to pour money into those IPs. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah.
And we see it more and more. We see so many things being remade over and over and over again.
Yep.
Come up with, I mean, I guess there's plenty of new shit coming out all the time. There's tons of new shit coming out all the time. But in the history of film and television, have so many things been remade so many times? Like, we're on like this has got to be a new thing where we just regurgitate the same shit that's already been made over and over again. So many remakes. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Am I alone in that perspective?
No, I mean, I get it, but certain things, I know, obviously things are popular for a reason, and, you can repackage and recycle things, and, occasionally, God forbid, maybe they actually add a new wrinkle and make it a little bit something that's more worthwhile, more substantial, and that.
Or you get the fucking Lion King.
And seats, or you get the Lion King. The Lion King is like that's like the bottom side of like, wow, this literally has absolutely no reason to exist other than as like a testament to, wow, this technology is really cool. Beyond that, it's just I don't even know how to classify that, but. I don't know. I don't inherently have a problem with retelling stories because, in effect, that's just kind of how the world is. It's like,
I guess we've been remaking stories forever, since the dawn of man.
And when even things that we cling to that we love, like Star Wars, is effectively just a repackaging of a story that had already been told before, and things you're going to get, these, in this decade, it's just a repackage. Even if it's not the exact IP, even if it's a new story, it's still in some ways a repackaging or retooling of something that's already come before it. So it's all kind of building on what's come before. Obviously, it's really more obvious when it's just, here's another Spider-Man reboot, and like, maybe that's a bad example because apparently third time's the charm or whatever. But I just. I don't get excited about it, I think is what I go back to. Like, I'm not excited about anything like here. The difference being like, obviously, like Fox fucked up all of the Fantastic Four movies that they worked on, half of the X-Men movies they worked on, and it's like, okay,
but
Marvel
they had
Studios
Fox Spotlight or Searchlight, which was
right.
cool.
And so there was still good that came out of Fox. It's just, one side of the company had absolutely no clue what they're doing. They're the current Sony. of making Marvel movies. It's just like, we have these rights, but we have absolutely no idea what's happening. So we're just going to keep making things, and people keep seeing them because they keep confusing them with the other Marvel movies. And so it's a really good business model for us. It doesn't require us to put any sort of thought or pay writers, because we don't need writers. We can just churn out crap. I don't know.
The only thing that gets me, and this is going to be like I don't know, whatever you want to call it. If there is a particular thing that the company wants to establish, with it being so tight-knit, with the company owning so many rights and a huge portion of filmmaking, right? If only a tight group of people own everything, it makes it harder for other voices to be heard. Is that a fair statement, you think?
Yeah, I mean,
if you go against the status quo, which, I mean, I guess the status quo has always been Hollywood, so there's always been.
I think that's what I was going to say. It makes it more difficult than it already is, but that is absolutely already a thing that does exist. Is you got to work within the confines. You need millions upon millions of dollars, generally speaking, to make any sort of film that's going to even be able to get distributed, in places that people can actually see it, and for it to make a dent. You really, gone are the days of self-financing films, maybe even Kevin Smith Clerk style. Like, you really can't do that and have the sort of impact that had. I mean, maybe it happens.
You got viral
activity is another one
but...
that was like, yeah, you got YouTube. You got YouTube and TikTok for that sort of thing. But that's not the same. It's totally different.
It's totally different.
I think so. I think that's just kind of the way that particular thing has evolved. Is like it's easier than ever to make your own shit, but maybe it's harder than ever for that to have noticed. The same sort of impact in the same way that things used to do, 20, 30 years ago. So,
ever evolving.
Yes, certainly having, 3 companies, holding the purse strings makes it a bit more difficult than 10 companies, right? Or 20 companies, of course. So, if your chances are, 1 out of 3 versus, I guess I did the math wrong there. But you get the idea.
I know what you're saying.
That,
right?
Yeah. If you have 20 opportunities, you're more likely to land one of those. Whereas if you have 3 opportunities, your chances are fewer. So I think that's the point I'm trying to make. Don't listen to the math that I just threw out there. I'm not a math major, so fuck off. I went to law school, not math school. That's the thing, right? Anyway, we should probably move on. The only thing that I will just touch on, read this Amazon MGM purchase, because there's obviously a lot to unpack here, is that obviously we are still waiting for No Time to Die to release in theaters. It's been
well, now it's coming out on Amazon, so fuck it. That's cool.
Feels like several years. Well, here's the thing: it's not going to come out on Amazon because 007's in a weird spot where it's actually still co-owned by the Broccoli's. So Amazon will only own 50% of the James Bond franchise. So they'll probably have exclusive rights to stream it and stuff. But in terms of the theatrical window, it's still, as of now, only heading to theaters. So the Broccoli's have, apparently, Variety says, unprecedented creative control over the property, including final say over marketing strategy, distribution plans, to even control over potential spinoffs, TV shows, who plays the next James Bond. So, it's not like Amazon is exactly gonna. They're gonna make some money, obviously, off of the release of all the James Bond stuff, but it sounds like they're pretty hands off. It's kind of the Sony Marvel Studios Spider-Man deal where Marvel does everything for them, and then Sony just makes some of the money off the back of that. That's kind of what it sounds like. Although, not like whatever, corporations making money, the same old story. So anyway, that's what's going on the No Time to Die front, which hits theaters on October 8th. So maybe things change on that front, but as of the announcement of this acquisition, this merger, as it's called, Amazon is a fucking much bigger company than like MGM, so it's like merger feels like it's kind of overselling it a little bit. That's pretty much what's going on. So anyway, there's a few other things, but that's probably the big news, hot off the presses from a few weeks ago, when it was actually hot off the presses. But we're getting around to things. Don't worry about it. Next piece of news, I think, is a very exciting piece of news. And
hold on 1 second before we go forward. They bought Netflix bought Knives Out. the rights to Knives Out for a 16th of what Amazon just bought MGM for.
Yeah.
What's that? Who negotiated that fucking deal?
I think it says that Netflix is a bit more irresponsible with their cash flow, to be honest. Because what's interesting too is
that something about Netflix, or is that something about the whoever negotiated? If I was a person at MGM and they offered me $8.5 billion, no, dude, they just bought Knives Out for a 16th of this.
We've got 4,000 films, so 4,000 times 500,000.
Fuck you!
I need
$20 billion for all of our shit. Thank you. Have a good day.
It's funny because I was like, $8.5 billion, like it's an unfathomable amount of money. And then in the Variety article, it's talking about the deal. It has like this chart of like other kind of similar acquisitions. And I looked back at the Fox Disney one, and that was $70 billion. I'm like, so
yeah. What are you doing, MGM? You gotta fucking sit on your shit a little bit better. You got James Bond.
To be fair, what does MGM have besides James Bond? I think is really what it comes down to. Like the Rocky franchise, like. Okay, but that's not like
they got the Thomas Crown Affair.
Not making billions of dollars. Like they're a bunch of movies that are like doing fine, but yeah, it's more just like a legacy studio at this point, which is probably why it went for quote unquote so low. I mean, still fucking $8.5 billion. Give me just $1 billion. Because that's really low. I would be fine with that. So I could make do. Probably maybe $2 billion. Maybe just throw an extra one in there. All right. Next piece of news. Netflix. Talking about Netflix again. Netflix is, continuing the Castlevania franchise. I put this in here as a follow-up to our last episode. I thought it was appropriate. We dreamed of a future Castlevania series that starred Henry Cavill as some incarnation of a Belmont. And unfortunately, I don't have any news on that particular front, but I do have news that Castlevania will live on in a new series that's going to be set during the French Revolution, and it will center around the character of Richter Belmont, who is a descendant of Trevor and Sypha, two characters that had a big integral role in that those first 4 seasons of the Castlevania anime on Netflix that we just talked about. Is that you had a question?
Yeah. Is that game genealogy, or is that genealogy in the show?
I think, well, I guess both, but it is. Yeah, Richter Belmont is a character in the games. He is the main character of Rondo of Blood. Of Blood, yeah, and I think he's appeared in others. I see an article. He's involved in Symphony of the Night somehow, and looks like a couple others. But I think he's only playable in Rondo of Blood and Super Smash Brothers as an Echo character or whatever they're called.
He does have a badass whip.
Just clones of other ones. Yep, badass whip. All the cool Belmonte type things. So yeah, I think presumably, in the way that Castlevania series took inspiration from a few different Castlevania games, I would assume that would be a similar thing here, where they could, do a loose Rondo of Blood storyline adaptation, maybe move into Symphony of the Night from that point on, just kind of keep a few seasons centered around. Way in the future compared to where it was, still very much in the past compared to where we are. But yeah, French Revolution, that jumps forward a few centuries, I think, from where it was. And, so it's kind of a clean reset, but, Dracula's probably going to be back somehow because it's Castlevania and that's how it works. But I don't know. It sounds cool,
Yeah, I'm excited.
I'm down. Like it obviously we talked about it. We don't need to rehash our thoughts on season 4 or the rest of the series too much, but like it ended in a really satisfying fashion. But like Castlevania is a game franchise that has had 19,000 different generations of Belmonts. So why not take it to a different era? Talk about, tell a story about some new characters, and it seems like that's exactly what they're doing. So all that remains is getting Henry Cavill to play Richter Belmont. So, we're starting the campaign. It's the Thor 4 Valhalla esque campaign that we're going to be running soon, trying to get Henry Cavill involved in here. He's got some Netflix synergy over with The Witcher, so it could happen.
I don't understand why they called Thor 4 Love and Thunder.
I mean, Love and Thunder is a fun title, but it is no Thor for Valhalla.
No Thor for Valhalla. That shit is gold. I'm sticking by it. When we
it's
cover
the real
that
title, it's the canon title.
When we cover that shit, we're not referring to it as Love and Thunder. We're referring to it as for Valhalla.
For Valhalla.
Yes. Anyways, I'm sorry.
We'll see if Valhalla, the place, makes any sort of debut in that film. It might be a little awkward if the title doesn't reflect the film in the slightest, but we're sticking to our guns. We got to. So, I'm looking forward to this new Castlevania series. That sounds great. Same animation studio that's going to come back for it. Same director. No Warren Ellis for obvious reasons, but do a new iteration of Castlevania. I'm down. I'm down for it. So
it's all going to be on who frontlines the show. Because as much as that guy was a piece of shit, it was a good show. You know what I'm saying? So hopefully,
I mean, the writing was a strength of the show. The characters were just fun, dynamic, and the dialogue was snappy and occasionally introspective. But it all just really gelled, and so you kind of need to, you need to have a well written show. It's probably not a hot take, but the show needs to be well written for it to be successful, I think, or to at least even live up to the standard that came before. So. Different, great, do something different, awesome, but you got to make it good still. The bar has been set, so you got to at least get it there. So,
yes.
Anyway, moving on to the next piece of news, we return to a slight conversation on Sony not knowing how to make Marvel movies because, wouldn't you know it, they're making a Kraven the Hunter movie for some reason that Spider-Man's not going to be involved in whatsoever. He's going to be fighting the Chameleon, who's I think is either brother or half brother.
Jesus Christ!
And set to play Kraven the Hunter. Set to play Mr. the Hunter is Aaron Taylor Johnson, which is not at all confusing given that he's already played a Marvel character, which is allegedly in this universe. So Aaron Taylor Johnson.
We've had a couple of people that played multiple characters in the MCU, though, right?
It's happened sort of loosely. Yeah, this
he has no makeup on this though.
Well, his I don't know. So he previously played Quicksilver, so he won't have silver hair presumably as Kraven the Hunter. Maybe they'll give him a bad accent to make it even better. And he's got to have the fur coat, the fur liner
with some good chest hair, I want some solid chest hair.
I think he can pull off the chest hair. I think he's got that down. I think he can pull that off. I think that's a must too, but I think he can pull it off. But yeah, he previously played Quicksilver and Age of Ultron. Obviously, it's now been 6 years since that happened. WandaVision happened. There was a little Quicksilver thing that happened in that, and he, spoilers, was not a part of that show. But I don't know. It's still a little weird. Sony's little branching universe that they've crafted with the Venom movies, the upcoming Morbius, that we're all going to see and love because Jared Leto's the greatest. They're doing all these fucking weird side character, like not Spider-Man characters, like villains. I guess really, it's all a bunch of villains. Like there's a whole cinematic universe of just villains, but they like keep trying to play it off like it's part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And like everyone at the Marvel Studios is like, we don't know her. We have no idea what you're talking about. And then Sony's like, yeah. We're definitely part of the club. Yeah. We're in it. And this just feels like another thing that's just like, okay, maybe he's a fine Kraven, like in and of itself, but like again, why is Kraven off in his own movie? Why is he not involved in a Spider-Man franchise? Yeah. And it's just like, if this is like more solid evidence that this has absolutely nothing to do with anything else in the universe, and you did make the point, which is a fair point that like, yes, Marvel has recycled actors in a way. But it's usually been like bit roles, like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers. There's like there's an actor that's in that for like a bit role. The Netflix shows kind of some shared casting, which was weird. The most like obvious example, the most perhaps egregious example of Marvel just not giving a fuck is them recasting Gemma Chan to play the lead character in Eternals when she had already played a blue alien in Captain Marvel. But at least with that, it's like
she had makeup.
All right,
on.
well, makeup on, like, it's fine. Michelle Yeoh is another one who she's in Guardians Volume 2 for like 3 seconds, and she's going to be in Shang-Chi. So it's like, okay, like they're not opposed to doing it, but like this is kind of pretty big deal. Like Quicksilver, obviously it was only one movie, in terms of where he made an appearance, but like, it was a pretty pivotal role. And like very like recognizable, like he just looks like himself. He just had, streaks of gray. So it's like, I don't know. I'm predisposed to hate this is kind of what it boils down to, if we're being entirely honest, because Venom sucked so much, and I have absolutely no confidence in Sony to pull off anything even remotely resembling a good live-action film. Obviously, we can cast Spider-Verse aside because that was great, and it's probably because they didn't really think to pay attention to it because they were so busy trying to make these pieces of shit. But again, I guess, okay, whatever. We'll see what comes of this. But, and like I said, maybe Aaron Taylor-Johnson can nail this role, but like, I just don't care. And I don't really want it, to be entirely honest. So anyway, that's what I say. You got some more thoughts on Kraven the Hunter, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, etc.?
Yeah, it's bullshit. It's just shit. It's going to be bullshit. It's going to be fucking Eddie Brock. We're going to have a bad accent, terrible humor.
Eddie Brock, I think you mean.
He's hunting his stepbrother, the chameleon. Who gives a shit? Who really gives a shit? If he's not hunting Peter Parker, who cares? That's what I say.
Exactly. And they fucking said it. They teed it up. Spider-Man has been outed. Peter Parker has been outed.
It is perfect.
He's on the run.
Right for the picking for a good Kraven the Hunter.
No.
But we don't get it.
This is what we get. This is what we get. Sony fucking everything up.
Yeah, no good.
No good. All right, last piece of news. Hopefully a pick-me-up. Danai Gurira is going to reprise her role as Okoye in the upcoming Black Panther Wakanda Forever. I think that was pretty expected, not really, anything surprising there. But she's also going to be playing the character, apparently, in an Origin spinoff series over at Disney+. So this maybe, it seems like this is the Wakanda show that Ryan Coogler is working on for Disney+, in addition to handling writing and directing duties on the upcoming Black Panther sequel. And it's kind of a interesting way to I mean, I think there was any number of ways they could have approached the Wakanda series. She's the leader of the Dora Milaje.
Yes.
So she's badass. So,
she's also from The Walking Dead.
She's also from The Walking Dead. She's no stranger to having, starring roles in TV shows. So, it's I am a little surprised. It's kind of just, I'm surprised that with a Wakanda show that they're kind of just picking up with a character that, we already have had some familiarity with, and kind of just rolling with that. I kind of thought they would branch off into kind of weirder, different territories. But at the same time, I think a lot of that is just because I think that the Black Panther sequel is necessarily going to be very ensemble heavy, with feeling a major absence without Chadwick Boseman there to anchor everything together. But at the same time, even though I am surprised, Danai Gurira is great. Okoye is very cool. We saw some of the Dora pop up in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and they kicked John Walker's ass, and that was great. So I'm all for having some more Dora, kick ass, on Disney Plus. So anyway, yeah. What do you think? You liking this?
Yeah, I'll watch that. No,
right?
I'll watch it.
It's exactly. It's like one of those things. Like, yeah, I mean, of course I'm going to watch it. It sounds cool. She's great. It's probably going to be good. Ryan Coogler.
I like things that perpetuate the characters I know. I don't necessarily need a background story, but
right. I think maybe it's the origin thing. And I'm just like, oh, okay. Like, if it was like, I really did want that. After the snap, what is Wakanda like for 5 years? I really thought that would be a really cool thing. But maybe they're just going to explore.
Or if we go back,
next movie that they do. So,
like, if you want to,
or
you go back to the origins of Wakanda,
like old Black Panther, yeah, like shit like that. That would have been bonkers and totally cool. I just, to me, there's like, there's cooler ideas that I think I would like to see, But, I guess I can't really fault them for taking something that is already established and well-liked and let's just do more of this, And that's kind of what the Disney Plus shows really have been so far is these are all characters you've seen in many things. You like them. Here's a show about them.
That's cool.
Okay. Yeah, fair enough.
So far, they've been pretty good. So
right.
Yeah,
exactly.
I'll take it.
Exactly. So anyway, that's what we got on the news front. Let's dive into some trailers. 4 trailers to talk about. Let's first revisit Jungle Cruise, the upcoming Disney film, heading to theaters and Disney Plus Premiere Access on July 30th. This is a film that I'm sure we talked about, probably over a year ago. And I don't know that we were super high on it or anything like that, but we got another trailer for it. Official trailer 2 has come out. Probably the last one we'll get before the movie drops next month. It's got Emily Blunt in it. It's got The Rock in it, Mr. Dwayne Johnson, and it's a little Disney adventure. So, did this trailer do anything for you?
All I could picture is going to Disney and seeing a animatronic of Dwayne Johnson. That's all I can see. It's it's like going now to Pirates of the Caribbean at Disney and seeing animatronic Johnny Depp.
See Jack Sparrow. Yeah, right. Yeah.
He's doing his finger shit. I don't know, man. I just don't know.
So, let me clarify. There's not already an animatronic of Dwayne Johnson. I haven't been in a few years. So there's not already one there, is there? You're just saying you think they're going to do that shit within a couple of years? Is that?
Fuck yeah,
is
they're
that what
making
you're
a
saying?
whole movie about it. Why wouldn't they change the animatronic?
So
they change the whole ride.
They'll refurbish the whole ride to match the movie, and it'll be like Pirates. Is kind of what you're getting at.
Yeah, I think that's what they're doing. They're reinventing the ride. Let's make this expensive movie as a reason to reinvent the ride.
Okay, sure. Okay, all right. Yeah.
It looks like a ride.
It looks like a ride. It looks like a theme park ride. And that worked for the first Pirates of the Caribbean. Don't know that it worked for the subsequent 4. And it didn't work for the Haunted Mansion. Sorry, Eddie Murphy, just didn't work out, my dude. But I don't know. I have 3 separate thoughts on this. The first one, I guess, is that just, it doesn't look great. I think overall, it does very much have that theme park ride sensibility, which can be fun. Obviously that's a certain thing that some directors can pull off, and maybe this kind of hits the mark in that regard. The CG worries me. I'm this has been sitting on a shelf for how long? And this is what it looks like. So that was kind of one of my more immediate thoughts was oh, that looks not great in terms of just the visuals of it. It looks colorful and lush, and obviously you're getting a lot of jungle, which obviously is appropriate for a jungle cruise.
Yeah, but the conquistadors coming from the dead or whatever. That. But
all that stuff looks real bad, and
green screen heavy.
This movie has certainly been done for over a year, so they're not touching it at this point. What we see in this trailer is I'm almost confident is what we're going to get. So maybe it'll bother me less when it's just all kind of bad. I said there was a comment that was basically
Scorpion King.
They're saying this is Pirates of the Caribbean plus The Mummy, and I'm yeah, it's Pirates in terms of tone and feel, and The Mummy in terms of CG quality. So yeah, that's about
more
right.
More importantly, it looks like fucking Scorpion King in terms of CG quality.
Yes, The Mummy 2 era Scorpion King. Yeah, it's really got that Dwayne Johnson synergy right there. He's just popping out, looking all fucking ridiculous. Just terrible, just awful. Oh man, that CG is so bad. My second thought, and I guess my second and third thoughts are a little bit more positive, is Emily Blunt and Dwayne Johnson are both independently very fun and
very
charming.
charismatic, right?
Very charismatic, right? And I'm just this movie is probably going to be bad, but it might be fun just by the virtue of watching these two on screen. And so I'm okay, I'm kind of down for that. Maybe that's what hooks me. My third thought was oh, I can't think about the CG, but then Jesse Plemons comes out of the submarine and just says
whatever he says.
I laughed. I legitimately laughed at that part. I'm okay,
it was pretty good.
All right, this is that one little moment was all right, I might have fun with this. So that's my final thought on it. I might have fun.
Best case scenario, CG looks like. Best case scenario is we have a Goonies Indiana Jones kind of movie.
Right. That's what you want. That's best case. Yeah.
Best case scenario with
With charming leads, with charismatic leads.
That's it.
Well, I guess that's true of those movies. So it's just that still, but
not stellar CG, but just acceptable CG. Right? Yeah. You don't want distracting CG. But that's best case scenario. I hope that's what we get. At the very least, I hope it's entertaining, because I'm sure we'll end up covering it.
Well, what else is coming out on July 30th? We got nothing better to do with
nothing better to do. We'll end up covering. So I'm hopeful that, because I am a sucker for good adventure movies. I like a good go into the unknown. You got some curses. You got some supernatural stuff. You have some entertaining leads. You got some humor. You know what I mean? I'm a sucker for Goonies, Indiana Jones kind of movies. I absolutely adore them. So if that's what we get, I'm good. If we get some Brendan Fraser Mummy kind of shit, I'm good. I love the Mummy. I love the first one. I can't say I love the second one, or the third one, but
I was like, don't forget about the third one. It does indeed exist.
The Dragon Emperor, or whatever the fuck it is. But I can't tell you that I haven't watched them because they look like shit. No, I definitely watched them, and I've definitely watched them multiple times. I just don't think I've also watched Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom multiple times. So
you cheat, Dr. Jones. You cheat.
They're guilty pleasures of mine. I do like adventure movies. So
sure.
Me to tell you that I probably won't.
They fill a certain void.
Yes. I'll probably enjoy this movie even if it's shit. Even if it's just a theme park, just stupid thing. I'll probably really enjoy it deep down inside. And I'll level with you on the fucking review. But it doesn't look very promising from what I've seen.
Sure, I get that. Disney's promising an adventure-filled, rollicking thrill ride down the Amazon, so I want that. Give me that and I'll be happy.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, it'll be a guilty pleasure if that's all we get. If we get a theme park ride, it'll just be a guilty pleasure of mine, I think. I'll score it critically. I'll tell you it's dog shit. But I'll tell you that it kind of scratched an itch.
Because we can enjoy crappy things. I've watched the Star Wars prequels way too many times.
Many times.
All right. Well, why don't we move on to the next trailer? The next.
This does not look like a guilty pleasure.
The next film from celebrated filmmaker M. Night Shyamalan, one of the greatest visionaries of our time, who still, for some reason, companies think, let's just emblazon this trailer with this man's name and think that people are going to be like, oh yeah, that
a lot
guy.
of people
Remember when
like
he made that
shit,
one good
dude.
thing 20 years ago? Remember when he made The Sixth Sense? Wasn't that really good? Yeah, that was 25 years ago. Remember when he made The Last Airbender? Remember when he made Split? Split was fine, actually. Remember when he made Glass? Glass is the one I meant to say because that was dog shit.
Fuck. We watched Glass, didn't we?
Yeah, it was real fucking bad.
Was that bad?
Remember when Bruce Willis died in a puddle?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's right. I do remember that. That was real bad.
Oh God, water. Puddle. Oh, I'm dead.
Yeah, so this one looks pretty shit. I think this one looks pretty shit too.
I think, I would say there's an interesting movie to be made with this concept. And I don't even think that this trailer is like awful or anything like that, but it is just like, it's M. Night Shyamalan. It's based off, I think a graphic novel or something like that. And I'm just like, he ruined it somehow. I don't know how he did it. I don't know what he did to ruin it, but I'm confident that he pulled it off. And so that's kind of where I'm at with it.
It just doesn't look very. The trailer comes off contrived, and just it doesn't come off well acted. I don't think. I don't know. Just something about this just irks me. Maybe it's M. Night Shyamalan being like the fucking title person. I don't know. Maybe I have an unfair bias. But something about it just doesn't feel like it's going to be good. Oh, I know what it is. It's the brother and the sister saying the entire trailer that they're inseparable. They're going to get through everything together. And it happens throughout the entire trailer. It's like, oh, God, this is the corniest shit. Like, come on, man. They say that shit like 5 times in the trailer. It's almost like seeing Rampage. George.
Yeah.
But instead,
George.
me and my brother get through everything together. We get through everything together. Me and my brother, we get through everything. You and I are going to get through everything. We get through everything. It's like, oh, my fuck. Come on, man.
I'm not sure if they're going to get through it together, though, at the
They
same time.
probably might get through it together.
You might.
Everybody else was aging so fast.
It's M. Night. There's going to be a twist. They won't get through it together.
So the twist is like something in the fucking cave sapping everybody's youth.
Yeah, I mean,
like, is that the fucking
it feels
thing?
like, no, there's got to be more than that because they just tell us that in the trailer. Like, there's got to be more to it than that.
Aliens?
Sure. I'll go with aliens. It seems
Who knows?
Fine. It's the sign. It's a sequel to Signs. It's the aliens that are sapping the youth. Once they figured out their aversion to water, they decided to go near a beach and sap the youth.
Something's sapping the youth, though. Something is sapping that youth. And we don't know what it is. I'll watch it to figure out what's sapping the youth. I don't think it'll be like, the whole like watching her climb the fucking mountain thing. And then she starts to freak out. They're like, wake up, don't do it. That was a Total Recall from a Total Recall.
Total Recall.
From what's that fucking movie we watched where that guy jumped off the cliff?
Midsummer?
Yes. It's all like a picture. They're gonna have a graphic like fucking falling off the cliff thing. It's all like a picture. Anyways, I don't know. That's all I got on that.
All right, July 23rd. We'll maybe revisit the conversation then if we happen to see it in the theater. We'll see. I take the bar 3 days after this movie comes out. Let's just say I'm probably not going to watch it on the 23rd. So, but that's old. Terrible title. That's my final note. Terrible title.
That's old. Yeah.
That's old. All right, 2 more trailers. First one is... actually, no, but I take it back. Both these are for Netflix films. But the first of these Netflix films that we are to talk about is Gunpowder Milkshake, starring Karen Gillan and Lena Headey as a mother-daughter, or I guess daughter-mother in that particular order, team of assassins. I don't know if they're actually really a team. I'm really botching this whole thing.
It looks like Snow.
Snow.
Mads Mikkelsen.
Which one is that? Oh, yeah. What was that? Polar? Is that what it was called? Polar?
Polar. What did I call it?
Yeah.
What did I just call it?
Call it Snow. And I was just like, that sounds like a movie.
Yeah.
But I didn't know which one it was, but now I get it. It's over the top action, very colorful, kind of zany.
Trying to make an edgy kind of thing.
But it's women this time, so it's different. So
yeah, I don't know. Still kind of.
But is it? I mean, did you like that movie? I never watched it. I feel like it was
that was definitely
bad.
shit. It was very shit. It was terrible.
So you're thinking this is not looking too hot as well?
It can either be very good or very bad. Like there's not going to be.
It has to like ride that line.
Yeah,
because if it goes too far one direction, it just fucks it.
Yeah,
it's
going to be very polarizing.
Too ridiculous. Yeah,
exactly. So
very, very, very polarizing, you might say.
But it's coming from Netflix. Nobody else picked it up, so which makes me inclined to think
they think it's probably going to be bad.
It's going to be very bad, right?
Yeah, maybe. It looks colorful and stylish, but
it does look colorful and stylish.
Could be to its detriment, or it could be to its benefit. I do like the cast. It's got a good cast. Karen Gillan, Lena Headey, Michelle Yeoh, Angela Bassett, and Carla Gugino. Like pretty, it's pretty stellar cast of women right there. So I feel like that is helpful.
Mads Mikkelsen's pretty fucking gold too. So
Maz is great, and those 5 women might have needed a paycheck. So it is what it is. I understand it. You gotta put bread on the table and all that jazz. So, but maybe it's good. Maybe it's just they were really compelled by some aspect of this, and it turns out, and it's really a lot of fun. But there's ultimately only one way to tell, and that's to see it on Netflix on July 14th. And hey, when it comes down to it, at least it's on Netflix. That's always, the danger is like, hey man, this could be really fucking awful. But maybe there's a few things on there that are there that will occasionally surprise you in terms of their quality. So,
and you can watch it right at home.
You got to find the diamond in the rough, and you can watch it from the comfort of your own home. So, all right. Well, anyway, July 14th on Netflix, Gunpowder Milkshake, and our last trailer is a teaser trailer, in fact, for another Netflix film. It's the directorial debut of Lin-Manuel Miranda, and I thought it would be a very appropriate way to close the news.
The directorial debut?
Directorial debut, yes, indeed. I mean,
he directed fucking Hamilton.
He did not direct Hamilton.
Who directed Hamilton?
He did basically everything involved in Hamilton, but he did not technically direct the filmed version of it.
How does that go? How does somebody say, Lin-Manuel, I want you to write, choreograph, do the music, do the lead role. I'm going to direct you through every process of this thing, and I'm going to direct it. Who directed that shit?
Thomas Kail. I just looked it up. Thomas Kail directed it. I think so. He also directed the Broadway production of Hamilton, and he directed the Broadway production of In the Heights as well. So
maybe
directing like a stage musical is a thing. So, that's probably a very particular skill set. And obviously
maybe Lin-Manuel was probably directing him.
He's probably, he's directing himself, but like, he's a little busy playing like the lead character in the stage iterations of both those things. It's probably a little different than, obviously there are plenty of films where directors star in their own movies, and even that, I imagine, is probably still a pretty tricky exercise. But yeah, he's never directed a feature film before.
Fair enough.
So this is his first time doing that, and he's doing, of course, a musical, and it's an adaptation of a musical by Jonathan Larson, who I think is best known for making the stage show Rent, which I love. I love Rent. One of my favorite musicals.
Rent's a good one.
But yeah, we got a little teaser trailer action here. It stars Andrew Garfield, Alexandra Shipp, Vanessa Hudgens, and what'd you think about it? Did you get some good vibes from this? Do you think
I did
knock it out of the park?
I did. There's some In the Heights sensibilities that are carried over, I think.
Just kind of creativity in terms of
like visuals and stuff.
Visualizing the world. Yeah, I see that too.
The trailer was very well made. I very much enjoyed the trailer.
Yeah, it looks really well shot. Like, it does feel like maybe it's cheating, like, oh, it's Lin-Manuel Miranda's directorial debut, but like the man knows what he's doing. He's been around the block a few times, you might say.
Yeah.
So, it makes sense that
30 years
like,
almost,
even if it's his first time doing this, like he's got a good feel for it. He knows what he's doing, even if it's technically the first time he's doing this. Like he knows how it goes. So
yeah, I think
it looks good.
It's got a good cast. The story sounds compelling. The trailer was well made. I think this is a good get for Netflix, and I'm excited to watch it. I will be watching it around day one.
Yeah. I think around day one sounds good too. When is day one? I don't think they actually set a date. It just says this fall.
Yeah, that's Netflix. Netflix advertising. Log into Netflix and it'll be there. That's the way that usually works.
This one feels a little bit different though, because like we're like fully into summer now. We're gonna be in summer for a couple of months, so this almost feels like this is different from the Gunpowder Milkshakes of the world, where it's just like, yeah, it comes out in a couple of weeks. Fuck it, man. Who cares? Like we got one of these every week. This one is almost like, oh no, we were involved in this thing. Like we didn't just buy this thing off someone who was just like $5, $10.
We'll take
$500 million. So it does feel like they're maybe like putting a little bit more stock into this, and maybe they just timed this to like put this like, oh shit, and the Heights is out in theaters in HBO Max.
Let's
out. Capitalize on the Lin-Manuel Miranda fervor and put this out there and get people hyped for this. But hey, I guess mission accomplished if that's really the intent. So I'm certainly looking forward to it. I think it looks great. Excited to see it this fall on Netflix, or in theaters if it happens to make its way into theaters near me. But yeah, I'm cool. I'm cool with it. I think it looks great. So, Tick Tick Boom. That's the name of the film. Look forward to it. And so that provides us a pretty natural transition to go ahead and talk about the latest Lin-Manuel Miranda gig, and that is the film adaptation of his first stage musical, as we talked about earlier, In the Heights. So, In the Heights was released, I guess, a couple weeks ago into theaters. It's also on HBO Max for that limited, 1 month period. So, you still have a little bit left on that time period to check it out as of the recording this episode, and theoretically the release of this episode as well. Unfortunately, it didn't do super hot at the box office. Quiet Place has been dominating overall, which good for it. And obviously, this is a film that's available at home to watch for anyone that just wants to chuck up, the $15 and just watch it on HBO Max, like yourself. But I think let me just see what it's sitting at. So in its first weekend, it landed at number 2, which was behind A Quiet Place, made $11 million, and then it dropped to number 6 over its second weekend with about $4 million, drop of about 63%. So it's only at about $21 million overall in terms of box office gross, which I think...
Sad trombones.
Sorry?
Sad trombones, as they say on NPR and Marketplace. Marketplace NPR.
Yeah.
Kai Risdahl would say, wah, wah, wah.
Yeah, it does feel a little sad trombones. It does, I think, because it just feels like a lot of the pieces were there, obviously Hamilton blowing up the way that it did and had for many years, I guess, to this point. You'd think that would spark more interest in, going back and seeing another of Lin-Manuel Miranda's kind of stage musicals adapted. He's in it, still. It looked colorful. It looked, good. I think the trailer made us emotional. Very, so surely it made a few other people emotional. And, obviously movies are kind of coming back into full force. I mean, not totally full force, but they're getting better for sure. Quiet Place, showed that hey, the door is open. Godzilla vs. Kong before that showed that the door is open for things to be successful in theaters. So it's kind of surprising this isn't doing as well as I would have thought it would be doing. Some people have speculated maybe they should have done a slow La La Land type rollout, do some limited release, in bigger cities, drum up some hype for it, and then kind of let the floodgates open. I don't know what went wrong, but I think it's a little bit of a shame, but we'll talk about that in a second. And the Heights was written by Quiara Allegría Hudes, directed by John M. Chu, of course, based on the In the Heights musical, written by both Quiara Allegría Hudes and Lin-Manuel Miranda. The music is done by Lin-Manuel Miranda, Alex Lacamore, and Bill Sherman. The film stars Anthony Ramos, Corey Hawkins, Leslie Grace, Melissa Barrera, Olga Merediz, Daphne Rubin Vega, Gregory Diaz IV, and Jimmy Smits. It's about members of the community in the neighborhood Washington Heights in New York City who pursue their dreams of a better life. So I know you have some sort of topic of conversation you want to get into. I don't know if you want to just roll right into that
We're going to roll right into it.
All right, let's hear it. What do we got?
So, In the Heights is about Hispanic folks living in the city of Washington Heights. And I read a Washington Post article. It states very boldly that it's an opinion piece, but it, quote, is In the Heights is just more of the same whitewashed Hollywood. And in this particular article, they talked about how the cast, the people that predominantly live in Washington Heights are darker skinned Latinos or Caribbean people. to quote unquote, because I don't claim to know. I never researched it. I just read this one article, and I've seen it's been in headlines and everything else. And it says the big budget film based on the musical created by Lin-Manuel Miranda came as no surprise for Black, Latin American, and Caribbean people. With its white and light-skinned leading roles, the film became part of a long tradition in America's of Black erasure. Anyways, so apparently the people that live in Washington Heights are predominantly dark-skinned Latinos, and everybody in the movie, with the exception of maybe a couple, are light-skinned Latinos. And this is more of a discussion thing than it is like a comment piece, because like I said, I don't know. I don't really claim to have a stake in any sort of opinion because I don't know. I just know how the movie made me feel about Latinos in general, in like the broader scope of everything, as somebody that doesn't obviously identify as Latino, and as somebody that doesn't claim to know a lot about Latinos and their experience. And I know how it made me feel. And I thought the movie was super effective about how it made me feel, and I don't care what grade of color your skin is. It made me feel a certain way about the people in general. Does that make sense? And I found it highly I found it highly effective. Sure, maybe the representation of different colored folks that are Latino weren't represented in this film, but I personally don't feel, and like I said, my feelings really they're irrelevant because we're not talking about my representation about anything, right? But as a movie that centered around the struggle of Latino folks, I think it did a highly effective job of conveying the message it intended to convey. And I think that to the criticism of the piece that I read, I definitely didn't write the shit. To the criticism of Julissa Contreras and Dash Harris Machado of the Washington Post, I think that the roles could have been, when they were casted, the roles could have been misrepresented and whitewashed, if you will, but they're still Latino folks portraying Latino folks. And I would say that to Lin-Manuel's credit, I think he did a highly effective job of conveying the message he sought out to put out. So I don't harbor any ill will because of the, like, I go back to Mulan because that's a thing. You know what I mean? If they would have casted, like, maybe not Mulan, maybe like fucking The Last Samurai, if they cast a white person to play a role of a Hispanic person, that would be a deliberate fucking misstep. That would be really bad. I think that if you try to, there's one very good story about Latino folks living in America, which is this movie. I think there's a very good story here. I think it's very deliberate in the story it tries to tell. I think it delivers on all fronts. And I think that if you want more representation, you shouldn't put it on the shoulders of one man to tell the story. You know what I mean? Let more material come to fruition and saturate the fucking media with all sorts of Latino stories with all sorts of different colored people. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not one man's responsibility to I don't know, to properly cast stuff. Maybe that's me, like, maybe that's coming out bad. I don't mean it to come out bad. I'm just saying that, he told a story. I thought he told a very good story, and I think it told it effectively. Yeah. And I wasn't looking towards the color of different Spanish people or Hispanic people or Latino people. I was looking at their struggle in general. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I think, I kind of just letting you hang out to dry, just talking in circles.
No,
it's
okay.
Just see what
I'll talk myself in circles.
But no, I think I get the kind of general sense and gist of what you're getting at, and I think I agree on the whole. I mean, so obviously the bulk of our discussion about this film is going to be really about the film itself, and I think that I think it's absolutely worth saying that the film is effective at what it sets out to do in terms of telling the story of these characters through the music, through everything that the film brings to the table. We'll talk about that in a second. I think that I do agree that it could be worse. It definitely could be worse. It could be a bunch of white people playing all these roles, and it's not. It is. I think maybe like 100%. I mean, at least in terms of the principal cast, it's all Latino people, and that's great.
And that's huge,
great.
Right?
It's great, and you rarely get a movie like this, where it is truly Latino people playing, people that are, actually trying to, it's very important to depict that this is the type of, this is the community of Washington Heights, and this is the kind of people that live there, and this is their experiences, and I think it does a good job of conveying all that. And I fully agree. Like, it should not stand on this movie's shoulders to do
represent
the legwork
every
of
single person
representing
of
everything. Yes, I think that's true. I think there needs to be more projects that just embrace diversity, unabashedly, and not as just like a token kind of thing where it's just like, oh, there's a black guy in this movie. Oh, there's a Latino guy in this movie. Oh, there's a Latino woman in this movie. Like look at how woke we are. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, that's not going to do it.
It's ingenuous.
This is it's not necessarily groundbreaking, but it does feel kind of exemplary in some ways, because it's like, oh, like really what they set out to do was have this principally Latino cast, and I think it's great. In the way that Hamilton's cast is so diverse. It's like, yeah, obviously it's about a bunch of fucking white people and white ladies. You know what I mean? Like, in terms of the actual history, but you diversify it by bringing in actors of color to portray all these roles, and it kind of adds this kind of new lens to it. This is different because it's taking, a real life community and trying to bring it to life. And I think that they honored the sense of what the community is like. I think I got that from the movie. I do think that its shortcoming is that it doesn't look quite like what the community is, and I think that kind of sucks. And like I said, it doesn't come down to one movie, and it's not Lin-Manuel Miranda's fault. It's not John M. Chu's fault. It's not just the casting director's fault. Like, it's kind of everyone's fault in the making of this movie. Like, someone probably at least in a position of authority should have been like, hey, like, all these characters look a certain way, or and like it's just not true and really authentic to maybe what this neighborhood looks like, where there's a lot of Afro-Latinos that live in that community, and there's just not a lot of them even to be found anywhere in this, and not necessarily saying that like, oh, just make a bunch of extras Afro-Latino and it solves the problem. Like, that's not really hitting at the root problem.
No.
It's that, one of Benny, who's the main character, is a black man, and he's from what I understand, not intended to be Afro-Latino. He's just a black man who lives in Washington Heights. And then you have Nina, who is a Dominican, woman, and she's portrayed by a more light-skinned, clearly a woman of color, but lighter skinned, and same thing with the other characters. They're lighter skinned. Like, it's just really just comes down to they're hitting on these experiences in a true and authentic fashion. I think the problem is that people from this community watch this film and think this doesn't look like what this community is. Like, they may be capturing the authenticity and the feel of it, but I'm not seeing myself in this. And I think that's a completely reasonable take. And it's a bit of a blind spot if you're making this movie, and Lin-Manuel Miranda and I think others have kind of apologized for not really sufficiently capturing kind of the makeup of this community I think it's still valid to criticize him for that. Like, it doesn't. I don't think it. For me, it doesn't detract from like how the movie works or operates, and obviously, and on the for me, I'm not writing Washington Post articles, about this being whitewashing, and it's just another example. But like at the same time, I get the sentiment. It doesn't mean that I hate this movie or it sucks for it. But like they could have done better in that particular regard. Doesn't mean that the message of the film is lost. Doesn't mean that like they fucked it in a huge, massive way. They could have cast a bunch of white people to do this, and 20, 30 years ago, they probably would have done exactly that. Had this existed at a time, it would have been appropriated and turned into some awful thing where it's just like, wow, this is awful. But yeah,
I read this article, and it's the first thing that I've read. I've seen headlines of it, and I never read anything. And then
it's been a conversation since the movie came out.
In preparation for this episode, I got on the computer before we started recording. I was like, I need to find a fun fact, and I clicked on the article and I actually read it. And I think the thing that put me off the most, and we're going to talk about Hamilton again, or I'm going to talk about Hamilton again. The people that wrote this article said the true musical rhythm of Washington Heights is not playful salsa rhythms and quirky quote unquote Hamilton-esque hip-hop, which trivializes U.S. enslavement and white power. The true rhythm is dembow, trap, bachata, merengue, classical mix. Genres that honor black culture at the center of the Dominican experience. And I don't think that Hamilton trivialized U.S. enslavement and white power. If anything, the story of Hamilton when he wrote Hamilton, or the way that Hamilton was casted, if anything, was poetic in the in the representation that it had. You know what I mean? It's like whoever wrote this article completely missed the way that the story of Hamilton was told, and the music, and the way that the music was. You know what I'm saying? You have the story of Hudes. It's like you completely missed the point. And I don't know if I'm not saying that, because in the Heights, if you're telling me if the larger majority of the population of Hamilton, or not Hamilton, if Washington Heights is largely a dark-skinned Hispanic or Caribbean people, and everybody that you cast in this movie is lighter-skinned, I understand the argument. Because everybody in this movie is light-skinned with the exception of one man who is not Hispanic. Right? So I get it. At the same time, and this is what the article talks about. The article talks about that people are being told that you should just be happy that your story is being told and it doesn't matter who's playing your people. Right? I get that. I understand that argument. I do.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah.
And it's an understandable argument. Make more shit. You know what I'm saying? Put more stuff out there. Have your people represented, and this is a beautiful story for Latinos. I think it's amazing representation. The representation of this movie actually brought me to tears multiple times in this movie. You know what I mean? Yeah, they were lighter skinned. I don't know the makeup of that community. You know what I mean? I don't know that. And the majority of people that don't live in Washington Heights don't know the makeup of the community either. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But I understand that your people aren't being represented the way you want them represented. But at the same time, it's a beautiful story about the struggle of people living in that community, despite their color. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And that's all I'm saying. So I don't know if that's a bad take. I would.
No, I don't. I mean, I look.
If people in the listeners' corner want to write out about how bad my take is or whatever, educate me. Tell me. You know what I mean? Because I'm not taking a firm, like, I'm not drawing a line in the sand here. But my take of it is this was a huge character piece. It was a beautiful story. I think the music was incredible. And I think that admittedly, if the makeup of that community is not of the skin color that was represented in this film, I understand it. At the same time, I think that it sought out to do what it was intended to do. You know what I mean? So I'm talking in circles. So
I'm just letting you hang out to dry again. No. I really do agree with you. I think, I think you put some language in there that was just like, Washington Heights isn't, the whatever, describing how Lin-Manuel Miranda writes his songs, and it's this instead. And it's like, I mean, that's probably true, but that's not really the root of the problem, I think, here. The root of the problem is like, they just didn't depict the community as it actually looks, and like they easily could have, and like that's just an easily solvable problem, and it's a bad look that they overlooked that. And I think that's a totally valid complaint. I think that something like that is like a little bit more off base. Like, this is a very specific story told by very specific people who have very specific experiences, and like their experiences, like just like
once again, you've missed the point.
It's the style of music that he makes. Like, you know what I mean? Like this is his story. Like, it's how, like, it's not just his story. It's obviously, also written by Quiara, Allegría, Hudes. So it's like, like it's their story, I guess I'll say. And it's like, but it's his style of music. Like, that's how he makes music. Like, just because it's not the style of music that is played in the community doesn't like totally invalidate it as some experience. Like every person in that community is going to have some sort of different experience. Like, yeah, they're going to have some shared experiences, but like it doesn't invalidate like his outlook on Washington Heights. It's like, oh, he doesn't get them. Like, they're not showing the right music in this, so it doesn't count. I'm like, or they're fucking it up in that in that specific regard. I'm like, I don't really agree with that. Like, like
I disagreed with
it's telling a very specific thing, and like they could have done a better job depicting the specific thing to make it feel more authentic in terms of just the representation of the people in the neighborhood. But it's still telling its own story. Like, that's fine. That's what movies are for. And it almost seems like they just didn't like the film in general. And it's like, just compounding the issue is this other thing on top of it. But I do think they are kind of two distinct issues. And I mean, not really. Yeah, two distinct issues. Like, one is like, oh, they kind of fucked that up. They could have done better. They should have done better. Okay. On the other hand, like, the story, I guess, is either going to work for you or it didn't. Clearly it didn't, because it didn't capture the exact vibe of it. And maybe that's just an extension of the first issue. But for me, yes, obviously, as a total foreigner and, a gringo or whatever, this is
I think the movie did a highly effective job at conveying the struggles of the people in that neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, I thought this film was really, really great. I had a lovely time with it. I can acknowledge that they had some shortcomings in a particular, in the particular manner of representation that they, and that they went about in making the film. I recognize that, and I realize that that's something that they could have fixed and should have fixed. And there are plenty of other, but yeah, there are plenty of other movies that can be made that can pull off that sort of authenticity. And it sucks that we don't have more of those. And that maybe goes back to our earlier discussion of Hollywood power structures. And like, obviously, like, Hollywood's predominantly white. It's just how it goes, and then that's kind of shitty, right? Like, that's something that should be fixed. And this is like, even though it kind of messed up in this particular way, and the other way, it's still kind of unique and different from what we kind of traditionally see. Again, with this kind of this principally Latino cast, and I think that, in terms of just kind of looking through the lens of like, what is the story this film is trying to tell, I think it just nailed it. And I think that the music, maybe it's not the type of music that is popular in Washington Heights. I don't think it's intended to be. But, it's very much well within Lin-Manuel Miranda's style that we kind of fell in love with from Hamilton. Obviously, he wrote all this shit before then, but, it's still that same kind of thing. And it's good. It's catchy, it's fun, and I think, looking, kind of really at the film itself and like what it set out to do, I do think that, again, accepting those shortcomings on that particular issue, I thought it really just nailed it overall, though. And I think that's kind of where you're at too. It seems like.
Yeah, The person that wrote the article, and this will be my last quote for the night, and I've been quoting a lot of stuff. But the person that wrote this article, or the people that wrote this article, says, In the Heights picks and chooses mythical, universal Latino experiences over letting the truth stand in its entirety. The deprioritization of lived and racialized experiences in favor of non-existent monocultural Latinidad has no function beyond fantasy. How can we honor those who came before us and risk everything to exist despite the challenge of erasure? Are we willing to let them be sold out so that white Latinx can use our keys to open their own doors? No, we must hold people such as Miranda accountable for writing us out of our own story. There is absolutely no community without accountability. And there was a lot of... That paragraph right there is really charged, you know? Mm-hmm. But that was Miranda's experience as well. Right? Like, the movie is based around Miranda's experience.
Right. And I think that's kind of where I maybe it's a bad position to be in to try to push back. But it's like, I don't know. I mean, I do think that this is uniquely his experience, and it's intended to be his authentic take on it. Like yes, there is erasure and the depiction of it, but I think that, right. but I think from a storytelling perspective, I don't think you can really discount his perspective on it, right? You know what I mean? Like that feels kind of...
That's not right.
Like,
right.
Sure, if you want to criticize it, that's your prerogative. Maybe we're sitting in a position where we don't, obviously we're not in a position where like we understand that, and feel that. But I don't know. I mean, I guess, maybe it's our uncultured take. I don't know, but I do think that there is emotional resonance to what he did with his story, and bringing these characters to life. I don't know. I thought it worked, I don't think that's a hot take. It's doing really well.
That's why I watched the movie and then I start reading all this backlash on it. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Like, I understand.
I feel like, I don't know if I feel like a lot of the backlash hasn't been specifically at the movie itself. Like, in terms of the content, it's really just been about...
And this is the only article I've read, so
yeah.
I mean,
so I mean, again, that just, I don't know. Maybe that's a different thing. I really don't know, but yeah, I don't really get the sense, personally speaking, that the film itself is, where things went wrong is just, it's just this horribly unauthentic take from someone who's clearly never lived in Washington Heights, written by a white guy. It's like, it's not that at all. You know what I mean?
It's not that at all. Right? Like the whole experience is charged with like the whole movie is charged with the experience of being a Latino person in a Latino based neighborhood. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not going to talk myself into circles anymore. What do you think? So let's we can talk about recommendations if you want, if we want to move into that.
We'll just use recommendation as a clean slate and just this is where we give effusive praise for the things that we want to give effusive praise to, and then we'll give a recommendation. So yeah, recommendation. So what I'll say, I think it's a beautifully shot film. I think it's just really creative in how, tying back to, we talked about Tick, Tick, Boom, the teaser. It's the same thing in here. John M. Chu, I think, did a really, really excellent job directing this and bringing these musical set pieces to life and giving them so much creativity and so much visual flair that like almost every frame of this film is just interesting to look at. And you don't get that a lot with like, especially stage adaptations, I think particularly. I think that's, obviously it's a musical and you got a little bit more room to play with it and you have fun, vibrant things that you can do in a musical, but you don't see it like this, I think, really often. And to me, it's just like, I don't even know how this would look as a stage musical because this film really, really leaned into the film medium and bringing everything to life. Like it, walking on sides of buildings and, ribbons and, fabrics like draping from the tops of buildings, stuff like that, stuff that you wouldn't be able to do in a stage format, at least without, and maybe I'm not creative enough to see how that would work, but I just feel like in taking this from stage to screen, they did a really, really great job of kind of radically transforming the experience of it. And I say that, of course, as someone that hasn't seen the stage musical, but I just have to imagine it's got to be pretty radically different in many ways in terms of the visual component of it. I'm sure the music kind of all hits the same. It's probably truncated a little bit for the movie. But I thought the visuals were just awesome. And I thought the music just slapped. You know what I mean? It was good. It was really good. Maybe it wasn't Hamilton good or whatever, but it's still very much obviously within the style of music that we kind of know from Lin-Manuel Miranda, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. I thought the actors that brought everything to life were all very good. Anthony Ramos taking over this role of Usnavi from Len, and obviously anyone that followed him, in subsequent productions of it. It was great. Obviously he's someone we saw in Hamilton, but I thought he was great in this role. I really thought, I don't know. There wasn't a weak link in the cast. I was going to say, like, the 4 younger characters were great. I thought Corey Hawkins was awesome as Benny. The two women were very good. Leslie Grace and Melissa Barrera. And of course, my boy Jimmy Smits, was great because Jimmy Smits is great. And, Abuela, you felt her
Abuela
as the heart of this community. And like that, they really harped on that. And I think that they I don't know, these characters felt real to me. They felt, like realized people, and they felt like people with these dreams, these sueñitos, and that they, I don't know. I just kind of bought it all. I had some slight misgivings, like with like certain story directions, nothing that like broke the movie for me. We'll get into it in spoilers, but like, shit, man, I just thought it was just really well made top to bottom, in terms of just being a film and telling this story and telling the story of these 4 characters and maybe some other supporting characters. Like, it got me emotional when it was supposed to get me emotional. I don't know, it was just enamored when I was, I think, supposed to be enamored by certain things. And, for a film that runs close to 2.5 hours long, I was pretty enthralled throughout. I saw it in theaters, for the record. I did see it in theaters. And so that helps with the attention span, of course. But, I think even watching it at home, I would have enjoyed that just as well. I just had a really good time with it. So, I say all those things to kind of have a kind of space to just say, here are the things about the film that I really, really liked. I acknowledge, obviously, again, the depiction of the community could absolutely have been done better, should absolutely have been done better. But I don't think it detracts from the storytelling overall. I think that the film still succeeds at what it's trying to do. And I do think the film still succeeds at being something that doesn't really exist a whole lot. And, it sucks that they didn't quite, nail it out the gate in terms of representation. But hey, I guess it's something. And yeah, make more shit that does capture that more authentically, or something that is intended to be a more unique or a more specific take on the community as it exists, and maybe one that brings that music that feels more representative of the community. Let's see that story. I would be happy to see that story, so that kind of falls on maybe the Hollywood power structure for not making more stories that empower Latino people to tell their stories and their struggles and stuff like that. But all in all, I don't know. I would highly recommend the film. I think it's a very yes film. So that's what I got. What do you got?
This movie made me cry multiple times. I don't know if it made me cry when I was supposed to cry, but I fucking cried multiple times. I think that it feels incredibly heartfelt. It feels incredibly genuine. I think the all the principal cast feels very, very, very authentic. It feels like you could. I mean, I don't know about Washington Heights, but it feels like it feels like a day in the life of Washington Heights. The music is incredible. I have a particular favorite song we'll talk about it, I'm sure.
Yeah, we'll save that for spoilers because I kind of just generally talked about the music, but yeah.
The music's great. The music's incredible. Certain songs I think are better than others, but of course, I mean, if you have a musical, you're gonna like. That's how it goes. I think the cinematography is excellent. I think that it's well shot, well realized. I think that obviously to the detriment of the people that comprise the neighborhood weren't represented. That's a shame. At the same time, if it speaks of the struggle of the people of that neighborhood, I think that's a very good thing to glorify the people in their struggles. If they weren't directly represented, like I said, that's a shame, but the struggle is represented all the same. And I think that this movie speaks volumes of the struggle, and it speaks volumes of a group of people, and a group of people that we're not exposed to, or we're not intimately exposed to on a daily basis. And I think that makes it that much more impactful. There's a story arc with dreamers, and that sort of thing, and that brought me that really hit hard, especially with Sarah being a teacher and everything else, and it really hits you. It hit me really. It was a gut punch. And like I said, if it speaks volumes of the struggles of a group of people that live in America, and it's a story that I can't think immediately of another story that's been told this way, especially on this platform. So if this is the start of things to come, and a start of representation, and a start of stories, if this is the foothold that Latinos have and that can grow from, I think that's an excellent thing. And I think it's a beautiful story told in a beautiful way. And I think it heavily impacted me. I would highly recommend this movie. To the criticism, I've heard from multiple people that it runs a little long. And to that criticism, I think that I would argue that without it running the length that it runs, that you wouldn't have the characterization that you have with each of the characters. There's a large number of very important characters in this movie, and you feel for absolutely every single one of them. And I don't think without the screen time that all of them have, and without the runtime that you have in this movie, I don't think you would have the amount of weight that each one of them carries in this movie. So I don't think there's anything you can really strip away to make it shorter of a movie. I think it's well paced, and I think that if you're going to have a story composed of 5 people, 6 people, or whatever it is, I think that you need that extra screen time in order to gain the emotional insight into each one of those characters. So, I think you have less of a movie if you have a shorter movie. And that's what I will say on the record for everyone that says that the movie runs a little bit long.
Maybe it's bad advice, but if you're watching it on HBO Max, you can create your own intermission as well at a certain point. You know what I mean? Like,
I create no intermissions.
Well, but
we start, we go, boom.
Something to be said for it, but I agree with you. I think there's not like fat that could be really trimmed from the movie too much. I think that it all kind of is in service of its characters, but if you need to pee a break, hey, no shame.
Got it.
You got to pause.
Put it on pause. Yeah. So this is a very yes movie for me. I was enraptured by the movie. I was enraptured by the story and the struggles of the people in it, and I think it was. I think it was very well done. I'm sympathetic to the folks that weren't represented in it. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I think that it sought out to do what it was intended to do. And I think it did a very good job of that. So
yeah. Yep.
That's recommendations for me.
All right, so we have a double very yes for In the Heights and a rousing discussion to accompany it. Let's continue that in spoilers. So full spoilers for In the Heights. Full spoilers. What you got?
Man. Abuela.
That was where I was going to go first. I'm going to be honest.
Is that where you were going to go first too?
Yeah, and I felt like such an idiot, watching this movie. Because it's such an obvious plot point that, of course it's going to happen, and it's going to wreck you, and it's just it's going to get you weepy. But up until the moment it happened, I was just like, everything's good. Abuela's just the heart of this community. Everything's great. She's golden, and she's
not.
dead. Oh fuck, she's dead, isn't she?
And you get the whole fucking musical piece with her talking to her mom.
Uh-huh.
Oh my god. Oh.
Yeah, I was just like, I really should have seen this one coming. This one's kind of on me. I'll take the L here, but it kind of just walloped me a bit. When it
What a
came
great actress
on,
that woman was, or
yeah.
is,
and she's the one who originated the role on the Broadway version. It's like, yeah, of course they couldn't replace this woman. She's so good at this. So she's probably a little grayer now, maybe than she was, but.
It just makes it that much more
incredible.
Yeah.
Feels more authentic, right?
Yeah. That's the thing too. The each character, each and every single character, man. Even the people that are kind of like not like main cast, like the taxi driver owner.
Yeah, Jimmy Smits is great.
Yeah, man. Like he's not like he's not like the staple. I guess he is a staple cast member, but he's not like the frontline guy. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But he nails it. It's so good. The cousin, the little scrawny cousin.
Yeah, he was good. He was great.
He was great. I did call the end of the movie there where he wasn't actually in the DR. He was actually in Washington Heights. I did call that.
Okay.
But the way they went about that was super excellent and creative and everything else. I thought it was super good. Yeah.
Was it the crab that tipped you off?
No, it wasn't the crab. It was
okay. You just kind of had a feel for it.
I just assumed that based off the story, the story beats everybody, the arc of everyone wanting to leave but they're really home and this and that, and the story of what it is, the meaning of what it is to be home. And I thought that was great.
It was good. It was clever. It kind of, it tried to throw you off the scent for most of the movie until it kind of pulls the rug out and says, "Nah, he's stuck around." And it's good because I feel like the moment when he's about to leave, it's just like, oh, but it feels like all these pieces are finally kind of coming together in his life, and it's like, I don't know, is it really time for a new start? So. It was kind of satisfying to be like, psych, we're still in the Heights, and here's our kid who's just going to go out and play, in the water, shooting from the hydrant out. It just felt like a really kind of perfect ending.
Yeah, it was beautiful
for Usnavi. So,
and
I enjoyed that.
It speaks. I really enjoyed the story of the movie. I really enjoyed the story of the movie.
Yeah, it's just really compelling.
You're constantly aspiring to go away, but really, what you really want isn't to go away. You know what I mean? You don't really want to go away. You just want to, you're home. And I thought that was beautiful. I thought that was so good. Such a good story. And the cousin who gets paid cash and everything else, that was. What an arc that was. That was oof. Big one. That was a big one. And I thought that was great. Favorite song. Can we talk about favorite song or are we holding that out for a little bit later?
No, go for it. I'm not beholden to any
favorite
order
song.
Of conversations, so.
Favorite song that had me teary throughout the entire song was Breathe.
Okay.
Where she comes back home and she's talking about, she's she had to hide who she was because she felt like she was discriminated against where she was at, and blah, the whole thing, and just breathe, everything's going to be okay. Oh man, what a beautiful song. I love that song. It's very good. When you hopped on the computer, that's what I was listening to get in the...
Oh, nice. You're getting in the mood for it.
Yeah. But yeah,
nice.
I really, really enjoyed that song, and she constantly saw herself through the streets as a little girl. I thought that was awesome, the way they played on that. In the community when they were younger, in the community when they were older. I think it was just a really beautiful little music video or whatever, it was really good. I think that was a really, really well thought out song, real thought out piece. So
yeah. Let me ask you something. You've seen the film once, I presume?
Yeah.
Have you listened to the soundtrack since at all, or you're going pretty much off just that one viewing? Okay.
One viewing.
All right. Yeah. I don't know that I have a favorite song based off my one viewing. It feels like I need to, I don't know, go full Hamilton on it and just put it on repeat and listen to it a bunch, and I feel like...
See, I didn't find the music
then go back. It's not as catchy or anything as Hamilton. Like Hamilton, like right off the bat, I'm like, this is the shit.
Right.
Like this is like I'm gonna know these, the lyrics to all these songs for the rest of my life. This is how good this is. I think I don't feel that way about this, but I do feel like there's enough there that I like kind of want to give it, just a couple of listens and then go back and watch the movie. And because I feel like in Hamilton, the first time I watched it, I was totally blind. I didn't know anything. I listened to it a bunch, and then I went back and watched it, and it was just really fun to do that, to kind of have like, oh, this is what it's like to have listened to the soundtrack a million times and then see the thing. So I kind of want to do that with this one as well. I've got a limited window, obviously, before it slides off HBO Max, and then I have to wait however long until I can see it again. But I don't know. I just think that's kind of a fun way to approach musicals. But that's me, just speaking for me. But so my point is, I don't really know if I have a favorite song. I think all it's great. The opening song I think is really good, and the Heights. It's just kind of sets the tone for the film. I really enjoyed that one.
I like the song with Lin-Manuel fighting with the ice cream man.
Is that Piragua?
I think so. Yeah, that one's pretty great.
That was very funny. It's like, oh, like, is this my favorite song? Probably not, but it's super funny and it's just really enjoyable.
Good.
And just
it's really
those
good.
Two having a shit fit with Mr. Softy. Just very funny.
Another spot that brought me to tears was when his daughter, who constantly thought of herself as a failure for coming back home, she found like her niche, and like she wanted to go back to school and do this and that, and that interaction with her and her dad. I felt the interactions with her and her dad were super like emotionally charged. I thought they were very good. I thought the two cast members interacted super well with each other, and it felt super authentic. Every interaction with everybody, even the ladies that cut the hair. I thought the ladies that cut the hair were absolutely fucking hysterical. I thought they were great.
They were great.
But it all felt, every facet of this movie felt super authentic. Like it just, like it was hyper realized, and it was so good. And, I think everybody absolutely nailed it. Absolutely nailed it. I can't think of a fault, really,
Yeah, I mean, I think the one misgiving I think I had with the resolution of the story was with how Nina's storyline kind of ended, which is, I think, first of all,
Nina's the one that went back to school.
She's the one that went back to Stanford.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think that she has a moment with Benny. And then that's kind of their ending, and then the film kind of really switches gears, and it's really about Usnavi and Vanessa and, their kid, and kind of wrapping that up. And I kind of felt like Nina and Benny didn't really have a one last moment. Like, it's like when she's like home for like Thanksgiving or whatever it is, or she's going to be home for Thanksgiving, they just have like, they're packing the suitcase. And that's the last we see of those two characters. And I kind of felt like I needed to like end one more thing with those characters.
She's the one that left on the train, right?
Yeah.
Nina left on the train. She's a super hard-headed woman, and she just wants to leave on her own, and blah 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 blah. And that's cool too. I think that's what Usnavi, or how do you pronounce his name?
Yeah, Usnavi.
Usnavi. I think that's how he says it in the movie. And I'm with Sarah on this one. Sarah pointed this one out. I think the one misgiving that I have as far as like wrapping all the loose ends up, because there's a shit ton of loose ends.
Yeah.
Or not a shit ton of loose ends. There's a bunch of endings for each of the characters, right?
Well, there's everyone's got their own story, So
yeah.
Where does that end up?
I think the big one for me is the cousin. Right? Like they initiate the lawyer process, but we don't know how that goes.
We don't really know how that plays out, right? It's very much just hope for the best, but your chances aren't great, so system sucks. Sorry,
that's
dude.
it. Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's fair. That's almost like a downer of an ending, because it's like, what's the most realistic one? Or it's like, the optimism isn't like, it's like, there's a little optimism in the sense that like, all right, let's do it. I want to take my chances, but it's like, well, it doesn't really feel great.
But at the same time, it speaks volumes of the people that go through that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean,
you know what I mean? So like, I can understand not getting the ending that I want as a definitive ending, but at the same time, it speaks volumes of the uncertainty of the people that go through the process.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So I guess there's probably a deliberate point to end it at that point, which is artful in its own right. You know what I mean? So I can't really criticize of it. I feel like I can't criticize it because I didn't get the ending I want. You know what I mean? Because I feel like it was a deliberate thing.
Yeah, it's more of a gut punch ending than some of the other ones are, where it's just like, we'll do the best we can, but this is how it goes. And, obviously they could have taken it a step further and said, actually, everything's great. Here we go.
But that's kind of the point, right?
Right. It's like, it may not work out. It may work out. You don't know. You don't know that. So
it's kind of like Usnavi finding the best of his situation by finding his beach inside his what's it called? Bodega. That's it. That's the word I was looking for. Inside his bodega, Yeah. And I think that's my favorite part of the whole movie is finding your dream within your bodega. And I think I think
it was really good.
Yeah, it's fucking beautiful, dude. It's really good. It's really fucking good.
So to kind of continue what I was saying with I think Benny and Nina needed one more moment, and I think part of why I kind of felt that way is I kind of thought her going back to Stanford, kind of felt, I don't know. I just think there could have been a more effective resolution of that, and maybe it's the same thing as with Sunny, where it's like, well, it doesn't not everything's going to be a happy ending, but it just kind of to me felt like you've had an awful experience at Stanford. It's literally as far away from Washington Heights as pretty much you could ask for. They were racist toward you. They treated you like shit. Why would you go back? And it's not like the solution is drop out of college or just live in Washington Heights. It's like you got into Columbia and NYU. Like those are fucking Ivy League schools. Like, I don't know. It just felt like,
but maybe
like
that's the point.
So you're, an hour or two away from home as opposed to being, 40, 50 hours away from home. It just kind of felt like, there was a way that you could still, she could, because she obviously found a purpose. She's like, shit, I know why I want to go back to school, because this is what I want to do. I want to make a difference by learning how to make a difference, in terms of immigration and things along those lines. But I just kind of felt like there's a way to do that, but also like you can just do that in New York and you can still be close to
possibly
you can be close to your dad and stuff like that. So I don't know. I think like Stanford's not some, it's not the capital center of, immigration, law or anything, like that. Like to me, it was just like, I don't know, it just kind of felt like
more so for her character. If I was going to defend anything in the movie, if I'm going to defend the position that they took, devil's advocate, I would argue that it continues the story of this is the struggle that we've been given. This is the odds that we face. and I'm going to persevere through it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
These people are against me. These people are racist. These people are this. These people are that. I'm gonna cut through it. You know what I mean? And
Sure.
I'm gonna come out ahead in a deliberate opposition. You know what I mean? And it just, I don't know. I think it's a through line is what I think, because I think she said a line about Stanford being the door that closed or something, and it's a way back through or whatever. Whenever she was talking about Sonny to her dad, and her dad said, you this is where you get better than me, is because you found your place or something like that. I can't remember, but I think it's another deliberate thing. At least I feel like it's a deliberate thing.
I mean, it's definitely deliberate. Yeah, I just didn't find it satisfying, I guess. Maybe in the same way that, the lack of resolution
with Sonny,
or anything with Sonny, it's kind of the same way. Maybe it just to me, it just felt like, I don't know.
There's a lot of good options here.
Point, and she doesn't also have to be miserable for the rest of her 4 years at Stanford. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, maybe things get better, but like also, she felt so homesick that she basically wanted to drop out. And it's like, I mean, just to me, it just felt like, well, there's a solution here that still lets her achieve, the dreams that she wants to pursue, while also being able to still be close to Benny,
but she's got that
loves, and
but
clearly
she's
wants
got that
to be with. But.
She's got that saucy Hispanic woman in her. And she says, fuck you. I'm taking it back to you. I'm coming back,
Right. I do think that's part of it, but yeah. Yes.
She's got that hairdresser woman in her, because this hairdresser woman wouldn't take no shit.
They wouldn't take no shit, yeah.
They were absolutely hilarious. The hairdresser woman. That one song where they're in the fucking, the it's not a barber shop. It's a salon.
It's the salon.
Yeah,
salon.
Inside the salon. That was fucking great. They're plugging the ears of the little kid who happens to be in there. Oh, it's so funny. Mm-hmm. I laughed so hard.
Yeah. Anyway, it's a misgiving. It's not a full-blown complaint. It's not this movie sucks because of X. It's just like, why didn't she just do the thing? And it's like, all right, well, she didn't. So people do that shit all the time in real life. And, maybe it's me kind of, putting my own kind of like, well, this is what I would do. And I'm like, well, I'm not them. So, I think, I don't know. What, you got anything else for In the Heights, spoiler wise?
No, we can move into, I think it's a great movie, man. I think everybody should watch this fucking movie.
I think it's great too. Yeah. Check it out. It's on HBO Max for at least a couple more weeks, probably a little bit longer than that.
I would enjoy a listener's corner as well about my fun, not really fun fact, but my thing that I brought to the table here.
Your less than fun fact?
My less than fun fact, but it's drama around the film, and I would enjoy other opinions on it. I would enjoy listening to all aspects of opinions.
Yes, definitely. We are not the authorities on the subject.
Definitely
that
not.
Probably goes without saying, but we're going to say it anyway. So I would welcome to hear some other perspectives, and we obviously enjoyed the film for what it offered to us, and I hope that we've done a pretty decent job of acknowledging the criticisms that have been levied against it, and not just completely discounting them. I think they're very fair. But I would absolutely welcome the opportunity to learn and hear from others who maybe have a more personal insight on it, or who just
anything straight up criticism.
You guys
whatever.
Are flat out wrong. Here's why. Okay, I'll take it. I
absolutely
I can live with that. So yeah. I think that's In the Heights, and sticking to it right now. I think it's a very yes film. I highly recommend anyone check it out. So there you have it. And so that brings us to what we've been up to for a few weeks, and I know I have a lot on my end.
You just start on your end.
You want me to start? Okay. All right. Well, let me work my way down the list. First things first. I asked Anna to marry me, and she said yes. So
he's engaged.
You're talking to you're listening to two engaged podcast hosts on Watch Review Repeat as of well, I guess a little over a week ago at this point. But that happened, so that's very exciting.
Give us the deets.
The deets.
How did it happen? Where did it happen?
As promised. As promised in text messages. I told Andrew and Enrique, our many time guest host Enrique Jaime, that I would give the full details on the podcast when the time came down to it. And I was thinking it would be on the Quiet Place episode, and lo and behold, here we are. But in the spirit of romance, and I feel like In the Heights is a good episode for it. It's got some romance in it. And it
full
feels,
of romance.
It feels like an appropriate tale to spin. So the date that this happened was Saturday, June 12th. That was the fateful day. Anna and I were going up to Vermont on. I think we actually got up there on Thursday the 10th, and we were going to be there. We were originally going to be there until Saturday night. We ended up staying until the 13th, actually. I'll follow up on this later. We moved into our new place together on the 1st. And
next to the fucking Liberty Bell?
Right next to the Liberty Bell, right next to Independence Hall. It's awesome. I think I talked a little bit about it last
absolutely
episode, but
incredible.
We're well into it at this point. So like I said, I'll flesh that out in a second. But yeah. We were going to go up to Vermont because we've been so inundated with moving stuff that we had gotten distracted from studying for the bar. And so our trip up to Vermont was our vacation to a very nice, beachside location to study for the bar part of the time, and and hang out some of the other times. So we got some studying in. It was good. We got some good studying in and got a little bit back on track, and so that was helpful. But I had always had it in my head that Vermont was where I was going to propose to her. Camp is her favorite place on earth. They've got this awesome, her family has this really, really great place on Lake Champlain. And she loves it up there. I've come to love it up there since I've been up there. Starting last year, I went up for a few times, and this was, I think, our second trip up this year. So I knew that this was kind of the spot that I wanted to do it. I had probed, I think, last year somewhere around there. I was like, has anyone ever proposed like there before? Because I was just like, this must be like the most obvious spot possible. People must have done this all the time. And she said no one had ever done it before. There had been a wedding on the beach, but I think that's different.
No proposal
had ever happened there. So I thought, okay, the gears start, spinning. And so that's kind of where I thought that I was going to do it. And I hadn't quite settled on a time or anything like that. We went engagement ring kind of shopping a months ahead of this. So she custom designed the ring. It's beautiful. It's a diamond with 2 emeralds on either side of it with a white gold band. And I think it's beautiful. It's exactly what she wanted. And I'm glad that she helped design it because I would have had no idea where to go with it. So the ring itself was not a surprise. We had talked about, wanting to get married and stuff, but we agreed that the proposal was my territory. I got the, I had the executive authority to do it when I wanted, where I wanted. All that detail was left up to me, and so I thought, I would still do it in the place that is her favorite place on earth. And so I waited. I wanted to do it on a sunset because sunsets in Vermont are some of the most beautiful things in nature that you can experience, at least that I've experienced in my life. We had a beautiful sunset on Thursday the 10th. I wasn't ready to do it then. So it was just kind of like, oh, this feels like a little bit of a waste. I wasn't going to do it Friday because we had other things going on, so it just didn't work out. So Saturday was going to be the fateful day, and it was a beautiful day all day Saturday. It was weird. Thursday was a shitty day, but had a beautiful sunset. It just popped out at the last second. And then Saturday was a beautiful day, and then it became.
So were you walking around all week long with the ring in your pocket?
No.
Waiting to pop it.
It was in my bag. I brought it in my. So it had been in my backpack for over a month. I was just like, because I bring my backpack basically everywhere I go. It's got my laptop and stuff in it, so I just bring it, and the ring was just with me. And there would be every other week, probably really every week, and it was where's the ring? In a panic face, it's in my backpack, and it's it was always in my backpack, and I would check to make sure it was still in there. It wasn't some crazy thing where is it? It was no, it's still in the backpack. It's still in there, So it was in the backpack. I got it out of the backpack on Saturday. We were down at the beach for a while, and so I had left the ring in the bag for most of the day. And then when I changed out of some stuff. I took a shower, changed into my classic blue pineapple shirt, which is what I wore the first time I met up with Anna, and we hit it off, I guess, if you want to put it that way. And so it's kind of, a very meaningful shirt to us. She always said, like, if you ever wear that shirt, then I know that you're going to propose to me. And I was just like, well, it's an obvious tip off, but it feels like I have to do it anyway. So I did put it on. And I grabbed the box with the ring out of my backpack after I took a shower. And I tried to stick it in my pocket and try to be subtle about it. I'm like, oh,
it was super bulgy, though, right?
Little thing sticking in my pocket. Like, hopefully it's not super obvious. So I had my hands in my pockets a lot. And I'm just going to walk around and like try to cover it as much as I can. I had prearranged with one of her best friends, Isora, who's a professional photographer, to hang out with us. She lives up in Burlington, which is like 20 minutes away from where her camp is, to come out and take pictures and, do it under the guise of it's just a regular photo shoot type thing, hang out, sesh, whatever. And so time comes for sunset. We went down to the beach, and I think Anna since has basically said that she suspected it was going to happen that day. It wasn't a huge surprise or anything like that. But there had been a couple instances prior to that where she really thought it was going to be the day, and that it didn't end up being the day. She's like, "Well, I don't want to totally bank on it being this thing and like totally hedge my bets." But she had a good idea, and so when we went down, she wanted to take pictures with Isora, and so I took a few pictures of them, and then Isora took a few pictures of me, and. Yeah. After I think a few pictures, I just turned to Anna, and I don't really know. I mean, I don't know if you said as much when you kind of told your tale. Did you tell? I don't remember if you said like things to Sarah, or if you just pretty much just dropped down and did the thing. Did you have some sort of preamble?
So I had some preamble that I had planned. Like I wanted to say bunch of things. That's right.
You got a little tongue tied, right?
And then when it like came down to it, I just planted.
You just planted. Okay.
I planted. Yeah. So I never got it out.
Okay. So it's not. It was a little different, I guess, for me. I kind of had like a few things in my head that I thought about saying, and then I was just like, well, I don't want to like draw it out for like 2 minutes, and then she's gonna be like, I know what's happening right now. She's like, she's gonna know what's happening. She's like, all right, just do the fucking thing. I didn't want it to be like that. So I just turned to her, and I said, I love you, right? And I said it just like that, maybe the exact same cadence. And she's like, yeah. And I was like, I want to spend the rest of my life with you, right? And she's like, yeah. And then that's when I dropped down, and I dropped down, and then I think I had to, I think I fumbled a little bit trying to get the damn thing out of my left pocket.
Because the pants were tight when you were on one knee, right?
Yeah, and I think I managed to get it out before I dropped down to one knee, and then I opened the box, and I asked her if she would marry me. She said yes, and then I think I stood back up, and then I was like, oh shit, I got to get this thing out, and then I dropped back down to a knee, and then put the ring on. So, but this is all on the beach, and I forgot to mention the sunset didn't happen. The sunset was covered up by clouds and shit. So we didn't actually get a proper sunset for this to happen. So this probably happened like shortly after sunset probably had technically set. It just set behind a bunch of clouds. But we got a beautiful afterglow, and that kind of set the stage for some really great pictures. And, there wasn't any big lens flares from the sun, wreaking havoc or anything.
No Michael Bays.
So it kind of worked out. No Michael Bays, nothing like that. So, yeah, that was kind of how it went down. So
that's beautiful.
I'm now engaged. It's it's different on this side of things. It's just, I don't know. It's just wild to think that.
You found her, man.
Yeah.
After all this time, you found her.
The Rebel,
awesome.
The Rebel Alliance, which is our text message group name for you, Enrique, and myself. We've all now gotten engaged within the span of 2-3 months, maybe if that. So it's just it's really just been a tumultuous experience, and just been really crazy. But
I don't know about your wedding date, but next year's panning out to be a busy year.
We haven't set a date. We're trying to assess our financials and figure out what makes the most sense before we set and commit to anything. But yeah, I think we'll have plenty of weddings to attend next year, if nothing else. So
lots of speeches, lots and lots of speeches.
So
yeah, I won't be able to fumble my words this time. I've got to. Oh, it's glorious, though. It's so fucking cool.
So anyway,
it's awesome.
So I'm engaged, and I don't know when the wedding's going to be, but I do know that I'm going to need a best man to give a proper toast at the reception, and so that duty befalls to you, Mr. Meadows.
Oh man, no!
If you're up for it,
I will be up for it, man. Oh, I'm get teary-eyed. Yeah, I do
Good.
it. I'll do it. I'll be the best man.
All right.
Means I got to do a bachelor party. I got to throw whatever that I got to do. I got to do all the deeds. So, give me a date. Give me a date, and I'll do it.
I'll let you know on the date, but it'll be good. It'll be good. It'll be great.
That's fucking cool.
So,
oh man, I'm excited.
Good.
I can't be more excited. Oh, that's cool. I don't even know what I've been up to.
Well, I got more things to talk about, so I'll give you a minute if you need a minute. I can just go. I can keep rambling over here if you want.
Yeah, you keep rambling.
All right. So what else is going on in my life? I'm engaged. That's obviously very exciting. I've moved into a new home. That's also very exciting. It's a nice 2-bedroom apartment in Old City in Philadelphia. We are basically fully settled in at this point. I think when we recorded last, most of the move had not happened. All my shit from my place, most of my shit from my place is over in the new place. I just got to clean out my place. We just finished cleaning Anna's place and getting the last few things over to the new place, and it's really taken shape. It's awesome. We love it there. It's a big upgrade for both of us from where what our spaces were before, and it's a shared space. It's very much the both of us kind of
space.
Integrated, and it's really cool. So it's been great. We've hosted a few times. We've had some law school friends over. Enrique and Isleen were out only a few days ago, and so we're kind of able to show off the place a little bit. Andrew hasn't been able to make it. It's a bit of a trek up to Philly from Florida, but one day we'll make it happen. Maybe sometime this year. But
one day,
my crown jewel of the new place is a new home theater system. So my parents very graciously got me a graduation gift of a new home theater system, and by God, I was due for an upgrade. I was rocking a home theater in a box system from Samsung that was made in 2012, which was a 3D Blu-ray player with and then all the speakers kind of plugged into that. So it's no Andrew home theater system. There's no 2 or 3 subs or whatever, but it's a massive upgrade over what I had before. I've got 2 Sony tower speakers, Sony center speaker, Sony sub, and then a couple smaller rear speakers on a stand in the back. And it's a true 5.1 setup. Got a Yamaha kind of beginner's receiver, which has been awesome. It's really been exactly what I would have wanted out of it.
Yeah.
Everything about it is just like, oh, this is such a huge, robust upgrade from what I had that I don't know how I lived with what I had before for so long, but I guess, it was in a bedroom. Now it's filling the living room space, which is much larger and much more demanding of a proper setup. But it's been awesome. It's my first time actually properly wiring speakers with, speaker wire and shit. Like my old speakers they had speaker wire, but it was all just pre-configured for the system. I'm just
yeah, right.
I feel like a real boy now, doing all this shit. So it was fun.
And then you gotta fucking tune it in for what's good and whatnot. It's all part of the process. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. So it's been good. So what have I been demonstrating? What have I been using to demo the sound system? Well, I've been watching some Fasts and I've been watching some Furiouses. I've watched the first Fast and the Furious and Too Fast, Too Furious. Those are the only movies I think that we've watched on it and their entireties. Once upon a time, we were going to do a bonus episode for before F9. It's not going to happen at this point. I think we can safely say that. We'll just have to wait for F10 and F11 to finish the franchise, and then we'll go back and do it. But Anna has seen some of the franchise, but not all of it. And for me, I haven't seen the early ones in ages, so it's kind of been fun revisiting them. They're absolutely bad films. There's no doubt about that. But they're also very fun. And it's enjoyable to it's like racing movies and heist movies feel like good demo material for testing out speakers, so you kind of get a good sense of how everything is, and it's been really fun to kind of watch them and just enjoy the schlock for what it is. I'm looking forward to getting into some of the later entries, and I'm hyped for F9 to come out and basically a week-ish from when we're recording now, not even, but yeah, like I said, bad films, but kind of veering into that so bad it's good territory. Not totally there, but like close enough that hey man, it's all in good fun. So yeah, I'll probably be keeping on the Fast and Furious train, leading up to getting a chance to watch F9. So sure, next episode I'll have some more thoughts on some other Fast and Furiouses, but yeah, Paul Walker, rest in peace. Terrible in these films. He's absolutely awful. He's so miscast. There's this one line. I don't know if he's miscast. I think it's just bad. I think in general, I think he's better in the later films. I think he kind of grows into the role a little bit more. It gets a little bit more natural, but he's just so fucking unnatural in these movies. He just feels so out of place and just feels like a fucking goober, man. It's just like, I don't know. There's one thing where he's talking to Tyrese in Too Fast, Too Furious, and Tyrese is pressing him on something. He said, "I said forget about it, cuh." And it's like, "Cuh? Cuz? Are you trying to say cuz? You just cut short of saying cuz. So you said cuh." I'm like, what are you even doing? What are you doing, white boy? Get the fuck out of here. Is really what it feels like. So anyway, like I said, rest in peace. Obviously, awful circumstances.
You're a fucking cop.
In which
I know you're a cop.
A cop. Awful circumstances in which he died, but and that's awful and it's tragic. And I think he added something to these films despite his badness. Like I said, I think he probably got more enjoyable in the later films, but not good. Vin Diesel's pretty fun though. Vin Diesel's fun. He's not in the second one. It's just Tyrese. And like I said, they're pretty bad, but I'm enjoying them. And
Tokyo Drift.
Tokyo Drift's up next.
Tokyo
Drift is up next. Looking forward to it. It'll be good fun. But all right, I got a couple other things I'll run through. I finished Mare of Easttown on HBO. It's a fantastic show. Really, this is probably the centerpiece of what I, in terms of things I've been watching. It's Kate Winslet's 7-part limited series on HBO. Takes place in Delaware County, Pennsylvania, which is one county. It's a neighboring county of Philadelphia. So it's very authentic.
Topical.
Yeah, no, it's good. It's good because obviously I've only had a few years up here, but I know a Philadelphia accent when I hear it at this point, and they do pretty good Delco accents in it, and it's just very funny and fun to enjoy.
Delco.
And
Delco is the name of that accent?
Yeah, I mean the specific one they do in the show is Delco. Yeah, there's a Philly accent too. They're all kind of pretty similar. They're not how I speak. Let's put it that way. But let me ask you. If you had a bottle of agua, how would you translate that into English? It's a bottle of what?
Bottle of water. Water.
Yeah, it's not
bottle of water.
Yeah, you got it. It's really water is what you want for Delco.
Water.
Yeah, for a Delco accent.
Water.
Yeah. So.
Okay.
Yeah,
I get it.
Yeah, that's probably the easiest example. But talking about Mare of Easttown, it's a crime drama. Kate Winslet's a detective in a small town in Delco, in Delaware County, and there's a murder that happens. It's a young girl.
Delco, Delaware County. I get it now. Mm-hmm. Okay.
It's a young girl gets murdered, and solving the mystery. What happens? They bring in,
that's cool.
They bring in a detective from I think from the county, who's played by Evan Peters, who's great, and it's them trying to solve the mystery. But it's also really about It's not just about the mystery and solving it. It's about the characterization of these people and the people that live in this small town and how they're all interconnected. And it's just really, really well done. It's beautifully shot, beautifully acted. The mystery is compelling, and the inner dynamics of these people is just really, really well done.
Is it a True Detective?
I would compare it to True Detective season 1 without a doubt.
Lord have mercy. It's strong.
It's got similar sensibilities, I think. And I think that in terms of, production values, it's right up there with it. So, maybe it's not Chernobyl in terms of like, this is the best thing HBO's done ever, but it's pretty close to True Detective. And it's, it's there with Watchmen.
True Detective's
Chernobyl.
strong.
It's top tier HBO stuff for me. And I think that it ended satisfyingly, and it's only 7 episodes, so it's one of those that like I think Anna and I watched 5 episodes in a night to finish it, so it's one of those kind of shows.
Holy shit.
So I highly recommend Mare of Easttown. I think it's great. So check it out. Other than that, watch the first 2 episodes of Loki, which I'm really enjoying. I'm sure we'll cover it at some point. Would highly recommend that. I think it's it's another top tier Disney Plus show from what I've seen thus far. And I finished part 2 of Words of Radiance by Brandon Sanderson. So I'm only like 400-ish pages into it. My reading pace has slowed considerably since starting to study for the bar. Turns out I don't like to read a bunch of law shit and then turn around and read more, even if it's fun reading.
Fiction.
But it's really good. Ended on a kind of pretty holy shit moment, which is exciting. It's one of the, I don't know how it... When I read things, I just see it as TV shows. I'm like, this would make a really good fucking, ending to a TV show episode. And so that's how I've enjoyed, reading this series, is like seeing how these events like really play it out, and just kind of, I don't know, it's just well written. Sanderson's just got a great feel for action, and now that I'm reading the second book in the series, seeing where these characters have gone, seeing new characters as they get introduced, it's just really kind of cool to see the progression of all of it. So I'm excited to see where the remaining 600-ish pages go with it, because still got a lot to cover. But yeah, anyway, I'm done rambling. That's what I got. I've got a best man for my wedding. I've got a new home to live in with a nice, robust home theater system, and I've been up to a few things. But I know that it's been since it's been a few weeks since we recorded. You've surely got a few things you want to talk about yourself. So have at it.
Yeah. So I don't know what I've talked about before, but I had a privacy fence put in the house.
Yeah,
I think I talked about that before.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And in order to get the ground where it needed to be, there's been a shit ton of dirt added to the yard.
Okay.
Shit ton of dirt. It completely changed the topography of the yard. Completely. Like it's not the same yard at all. It's completely different. So I've added irrigation to the extended portions of the yard by fucking hand and by man force. And so I've added some sprinklers. I added the sprinklers, and I added too many sprinklers on one zone, so I didn't have any water pressure, because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. But I've since corrected that error, and I've capped some extra sprinklers and stuff, and fixed that, which is cool. I planted grass seed. To be fair, Sarah's off for the summer. She's a 5th grade teacher. She's out for the summer. And so she actually, leveled the dirt in the yard and everything. She did all, the hard labor, which is super impressive, because it would have kicked my ass. And she absolutely fucking nailed it. She killed it. So she leveled out the yard all around the fence line. And then I went through there and I raked it all up, and I raked the dirt up, and I threw some grass seed down. So grass is growing in the backyard. We're getting a shit ton of rain, which is good and bad, because I don't have anything preventing erosion, because I didn't throw sod. I just threw grass seed. But the grass is growing, so that's good. I've got a couple of sprinklers I need to adjust. I need to raise them up. One sprinkler is 4 inches in the ground because of how much dirt we added. And I need to raise that sprinkler up so it doesn't erode the dirt that we added. Mm-hmm. but it's coming together. It's coming together pretty good. The most, like, the coolest thing that I've added to the house is 2 subwoofers. I bought my neighbor's subwoofers.
Yeah, you mentioned, you were in the process of acquiring it, or like, planning to get it when we talked about Castlevania, but you hadn't had it. But I've seen through text messages, obviously, the updated setup. So now your home theater setup is it good to go? Or are you still tinkering, or is it pretty much where you want it to be now?
So I added 2 SVS PB3000s, which are
probably better than mine by quite a lot.
They're fucking good. They're really good. You can sit on the couch and you can, like, I usually sit with my feet on the table or the ottoman. I have my feet extended out. And you can, there's bass in this home now that you can feel. You feel it vibrating your legs. Like, you can feel it through your body. And it's not super boomy. It's just radiant. Like, you can fucking feel it. There's minimal rattles. Like, I got it as tuned as I can get it without actually metering the speakers. There's a couple of people that there's a Facebook group I'm a part of, and I can pay these people a couple $100, and it takes about 3 or 4 hours. And they you get the microphone, and you connect remotely, and they'll like fine tune your entire system, which I think I'm going to do because I just spent the money on the speakers. So like you might want to tune it as good as you can get it. So I think I'm going to do that. Haven't done it yet. I just tuned it myself. But the bass is absurd. So like before, if I wanted good bass, I would turn up the speakers, and the speakers that I have, they have like integrated subwoofers in them.
Right. Yeah.
And they're powered. But if I wanted good bass, I would just have to turn everything up very loud in order to get like good bass. Now I can listen to things at like decent levels, but I can still feel bass. And then when I crank it up, I can get it to like I've got adequate bass. Like I don't know. It's completely different. I had Austin over the other night, and Austin said it's like being at a movie theater, which is pretty cool. I took that as a very big compliment.
It's high praise. Sure.
Yeah, it's as close. So I don't have Atmos speakers. I don't have height channels. But I can add them.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Which I intend to do. But it sounds and it feels like a movie theater, which is pretty fucking cool.
Yeah,
like I'm pretty like it. I had Sarah's dad over, and I played like the intro sequence to Blade Runner, and he just laughed. He laughed the entire time. Like it makes me very happy.
I think I said something you took a video of the opening sequence, I think from 2049, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And I had like my AirPods in, but I can almost just like hear the bass just coming through in a shitty little iPhone. I mean, it's probably pretty good quality iPhone video, but that obviously is not going to adequately capture what it's like to be in that room. But I was just like, shit, honestly, I can kind of get the sense of it. Like, I'm filling in some gaps, but like it's got to be putting out some serious bass if I can kind of just hear it.
It's pretty good. So I sent you all a text message. 2 PB3000s in place, calibrating now. With the old sub that I have, now I have 232 pounds of subwoofers, 41 inches of subwoofer drivers, and 2,050 RMS, which is like sustained power for the subwoofers. They dig deep, and they go, I think both those PB3000s, they go like, I want to say 16 hertz, which is below what you can hear, but it pushes air. Like you can watch the subwoofer move like a solid 3 inches, like just straight up out and in. Like it moves air, which is it makes me very happy. I'm very happy with the subwoofers. It was a good purchase. And I traded it with like the fence. Me and my neighbor shared the fence. And so I was like, hey, listen, I'll put the fence in. And he's like, okay. And it's like, instead of splitting the fence with me, just like, I'll pay you a little extra and we can just trade it out. And we'll get the speakers. And he's like, okay. So Luigi's going to outdo me, my neighbor. He sold me his speakers, but now he's getting like, I think they're 18-inch subwoofers. So his speakers are going to be nuts. Like they're going to be outrageously nuts. They're like 4-foot tall subwoofers. They're nuts. But anyways, I'm happy with what I have. I also put outdoor speakers on the outside.
Nice.
From Definitive Technology, which is the same people that build my towers. They sound very good. I ran the speaker through the speaker wire through the attic, the whole 9 yards, and did that. So we have speakers on the outside now, which is cool. I got it on zone 2 of that AVR, so you can listen to different things than you listen to inside, or you can listen to the same thing in both zones. So it's a nice thing to have in the house in general. So if you're like having people inside and outside, you can mix it up or whatever. They have their own volume control, the whole 9 yards, which is cool. Been watching Loki. I have thoroughly enjoyed Loki, every aspect of Loki. I'm sure we'll talk about it at a later point.
Yep. Got 4 more episodes to sit through before we get a chance to dive in, do a deep dive of it, I guess. But yeah.
Star Wars. Been watching Star Wars. Been watching that.
Are you up to
the
date?
Bad Batch.
You're up to date on it? Or close to? I mean, I think there's 8 that have been out so far. So yeah,
at
cool.
least an episode. Yeah, I'm pretty up to date.
That's good stuff.
I like it.
Okay.
There's we'll see
not
where
amazing,
it goes.
but it's pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty good. All we'll see. Well, like I said, we'll see where it goes. I think where it goes is going to dictate how I feel about the entire thing.
Okay. Yeah, fair.
I have also picked up a podcast.
Oh.
It's a podcast that I've listened to in the past. It's Dan Carlin's Hardcore History.
What's he talking about these days?
So, it's an older podcast.
Okay.
The episodes that I've been listening to, anyways. It's not his most up-to-date stuff, but he did the. I was listening. I watched Twilight Zone. I've been watching a couple episodes of that. I've watched quite a few. Mm-hmm. I don't know if we talked about it in the past, but watched quite a few episodes of Twilight Zone, the newer Twilight Zone that came out.
Right.
And he actually did, Dan Carlin actually did, he played the role of a podcaster on one of the episodes, and he did all the, the audio for it. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I know who that is. Who is it? And then it was Dan Carlin. I'm like, who's Dan Carlin? Oh, I fucking know Dan Carlin. I listened to his podcast. Anyway, so I started listening to King of Kings, which is essentially like it's like a history of the Persian Empire, essentially.
Okay.
Is what it is. It's I think it's 3 parts, and it's like 24 hours long or whatever it is across all 3 parts. It's very long.
It's just as long as our podcasts are, is what you're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. But he, it's a really good listen. I think it's he admits biases and stuff, and he references a lot of really good material, I think. I'm not highly educated on it. I'm not a historian, but it seems like a pretty good account of things that have happened, and he gives reference points from multiple historians. So it feels like a pretty good representation of the material. So I feel like I'm getting accurately educated on things that have happened. This particular podcast is really cool because all the history that we receive is largely due in part by the Greeks. And so he tries to, in this podcast, in this coverage, he tries to cover the point of view of the Persians, which is cool. Yeah, really good listen. Highly recommend it. I thoroughly enjoy it. I'm fixing to get on the Battle of Thermopylae which is pretty cool, which is 300, and
1,000 nations of the Persian Empire descend upon you.
So I just listened to Xerxes is the son of Darius the Great, I believe it is.
Yeah, that's
Darius the Great was a Persian king. King of Kings is what the Persian kings call themselves, the king of the universe or whatever. So Xerxes is the son of him, and I just listened about his dad. His dad was on the throne for like 30 years, which is huge because, I mean, the life expectancy of people wasn't that long. And yeah, he did a lot of crazy things for the Persian Empire. It's really interesting. I thoroughly enjoy it. Anyways, so Dan Carlin's Hardcore History. I've been listening to that.
Nice. Very good.
Sarah and I started Handmaid's Tale, which I'm thoroughly excited about.
When you say started, you had watched at least a season before, hadn't you?
I watched a season. I think we're on the last season of season 1 together because I watched it before her and I got together.
So you restarted it from the beginning with her.
Yeah, restarted it from the beginning because it had been so long since I'd seen it. She had never seen it. Her sister watched it and liked it, and so I'm excited to watch it. I'm excited to see where it goes because I don't know how it lasts 4 seasons.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, we'll see how it goes, but season 1's spectacular.
You'll have to let me know, so.
It's a hard watch, but it's really well done. At least the first season is. I stand behind my reaccounting and my remembrance of the first season. I think it's really good. Been watching a lot of hockey here lately the past couple weeks. Lightning is killing it. They just
looking good for them.
Yeah, looking good for them. I just got an ESPN update. Apparently, it's not looking so good for the Knights.
No, they just got their asses handed to them by Montreal. I think I also just got a notification saying pretty much the same thing. So.
But we'll see. We'll see who's in the Stanley Cup final. I'm excited about it. I think it might be the Lightning. At least it's feeling that way. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I mean, shit. If Tampa Bay ends up running into Montreal in the finals, I don't know. It feels like an easy road, but we'll see. I guess don't count anyone out. Clearly, but
that's it. And then the shittiest thing in my news is. We used to be able to do 2 auctions, 3 auctions on Monday. It's not the case anymore. Monday and Wednesday were our auction days. The auction people decided to spread that out, so now I have to wake up early for Monday. I have to wake up early on Tuesday. And I have to wake up early on Wednesday. On top of staying late to sell shit on Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. So on top of my normal 60-hour work week, I'm adding whatever time is allotted for the fucking auctions early in the day.
Is this your subtle way of saying you need to go to bed?
My days have just gotten longer. It is what it is. But tomorrow I take a half day for... Tomorrow I'm taking a half day for a wedding tasting. I get to go eat food early in the day. And I'm not coming back to work.
Yeah,
so I leave at 1 o'clock.
There.
We hired some people. Work has been going spectacularly well. So well, in fact. It's been a hard 8 months at work. I've had some bad people hired, but some bad people have left. I've hired better people, and work has been going so well that I feel paranoid that something very bad is going to happen. Like I've had such a bad experience for the past 8 months that things have been going so smooth I'm looking over my shoulder. If that tells you anything.
Knock on wood. Knock on wood.
Knock on wood. I'm knocking on
it. The mic picked it up, but I knocked on some wood for you.
So we hired a 17-year level 3 tech from Chrysler. The dude
seems legit.
Seems very legit. I've learned. So part of my position at work is to kind of guide the ship, so to speak. You know what I mean? When they're hitting their heads up against stuff, I try to go in there and give a different perspective or whatever. And I've learned a tremendous amount of information from this guy, which is awesome. and he seems to know what he's doing, and we haven't had any issues. He's got a couple of misdiagnoses from the prior tech. We've hired a new lady for the office, which she's very forgetful. She's younger. She doesn't quite know a whole lot, but she shows up every day, which is a good start. I'm hoping that we can build on that. And hopefully the load starts lightening, because it's been quite heavy the past couple. I mean, I don't know, the past year and a half, it's been quite heavy. So, I'm hopeful that we're turning a corner at work. And tomorrow I take a half day. It's spectacular. I feel very good about it. And the biggest, most important news that I can think of is now I'm a best man at Colton's wedding. And that made my fucking night. I'm so happy. I'm so excited. I'm gonna write a 3-hour speech. It's gonna
better get started. Get started on that.
We both know that's not the case. I won't be able to write a 3-hour speech.
No, but I'm sure you'll bring something wonderful to the table.
I'll do
regardless.
something.
No, you'll do something. We could definitely say that. You'll definitely do something.
That's it.
You got it. You got
but,
it.
Yeah,
I know you do. So yeah. All right.
That's it.
Well, if that's it, then why don't we go ahead and wrap it up?
Sounds good.
Well, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you would like to support us on Patreon at patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat, you can get early access to all of our regular episodes. And one day we'll put out another bonus episode. Probably not on Fast and Furious, but something. Our website is watchreviewrepeat.com. We are on Twitter if you want to follow us there at WRRPod. If you're on Facebook and you want to like our page, we do have a page. Just search for Watch Review Repeat and like it that way. If you have questions, comments, suggestions, certainly, just again to follow up on our earlier conversation, if you have input, on kind of the things we discussed about In the Heights, we would love to hear your thoughts and love to be educated, and hear some other perspectives.
Criticized, whatever
the case may be. Yeah, I think we're ready to hear it, ready to see it, and ready to face the music if need be. So watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com is the best way to get in touch with us. Sincerely, we are curious, and and we're not exactly experts on the subject matter, as I think I made abundantly clear, but I hope that we've at least done enough justice to tackle the issue respectfully. But if there's anything that we really haven't hit on super effectively, please let us know. So have at it. Our intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. Our next episode should be On a Quiet Place Part 2, and I do mean it this time. I think Andrew should be able to hopefully, as long as there's no auctions and whatnot, getting in the way. I think as long as he can find some time, carve out some time, he should be able to catch it in the theaters. And hopefully the wait between episodes, or at least between recording episodes, won't be as long this time. So we'll be able to give you some coverage on Quiet Place Part 2. I have seen it. I have a few things to say about it, and I'm looking forward to talking to Andrew about it. So we hope that we can bring that to you soon. Maybe I should just make it clear at this point. If anyone's even listening at this point, I'll probably just say the same thing at the beginning of the next episode. But obviously Andrew's very busy with work. I'm kind of really at this point knee deep and prepping for the bar, which is in just over a month from when we're recording. We're both busy. We do what we can. We try to record as often as we can and put out episodes as often as we can as well. But certainly, I think over the next month or so, things may slow down a little bit, or at least be irregular. Just trying to, do the right thing for both of us. But yeah. So anyway, it's a warning. I'll probably again mention that again, just so people are at least aware of it. After they're not hearing it after 2+ hours, like, yeah, I don't care. I'm done. I'm done with this podcast. Move on. So anyway, look forward to our coverage of A Quiet Place, and we'll catch you next time. So Andrew, why don't you take us out?
Take care now. Bye then.
Laters on the Milkshake.